Make sure she can hear. Carrie, can you hear us?
Yes.
You can start the meeting whenever you're ready.
All right, we'll open the June 16th meeting of the Planning Commission for the City of Reno. And we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Del Villar. Can we go through roll call, please?
Tina Gonfantini.
Present.
Okay. Manny Becerra.
Here.
Christina Del Villar.
Here.
David Jockman.
Here.
Alex Felto. Jacob Williams.
Here.
Carrie Romeyer.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Perfect. All right, we'll begin with public comment. This is for any item either on the agenda or for general comment. Do we have anyone wishing to speak?
Okay, let me read this into the record first. It should be noted for those that those in attendance that comments are to be addressed to the Planning Commission as a whole. Comments heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the Planning Commission agenda. Please note that the Planning Commission may not take action upon any matter not agendized for possible action on today's agenda. When you are called on for public comment, please state your name for the record and begin speaking. The timer will begin when you say your name, and you will be afforded 3 minutes. If you are an attendee in the Zoom meeting and would like to make public comment at this time, please raise your hand. Lastly, while in this room, please be respectful. Warnings will be issued by the presiding officer if there is disruptive behavior, and you will be asked to leave chambers if the behavior continues. We did receive public comment that was general in nature that was forwarded to the Planning Commission and has been entered into the record. I did not receive any request to speak forms for this item. And do we have anybody on Zoom? And no one on Zoom has raised their hand.
I see one hand. Would you like to come to the front? Please state your name and then fill out a comment card after you're done.
My name is Craig Weaver. Good afternoon. I'm a resident in Northwest Reno up on Fox Trail Drive and wanted to comment today on the proposed zoning change for the Moose Ridge Zone Change Project. So the reason I'm here is I'm concerned that misleading information has been provided to the community and that other community members, particularly not residents, would be here but for that misleading information. The misleading information was provided by Rubicon Design Group. I've got that letter right here in front of me. It was just dropped off at my front door. Same thing with my other neighbors. And essentially what this letter says is that the zone change is going to be consistent with the existing homes that are built on Moose Ridge. That is not true. So the existing homes on Moose Ridge Drive are between 1/3 and 1/4 acre lots. They're single-family residences. Most of them have 3-car garages. They have backyards. The zone change that's being requested is from SF3 to SF8. SF8 would allow homes to be built on the vacant land above Moose Ridge on 1/8 of an acre lots. 1/8 of an acre. It looks like they're trying to do 0 lot line development. So 1/8 of an acre lots with 0 lot line is not consistent with the existing build on Moose Ridge Drive. I think if they were truthful in this disclosure on why they wanted to do the zone change, more of my neighbors would be here. I see a couple, but I think there would be more. So the concern that I have is that they're attempting to develop 65 homes on 16 acres. And yet they're representing it's consistent with the existing built homes on Moose Ridge, which are on 1/4 and 1/3 acre lots with 3-car garages. So I'd like the Planning Commission to take that into consideration when determining whether or not to allow this project to move forward. I feel like more accurate information should be provided to the community so they could be here, be heard as well. Thank you.
Please fill out a request to speak form for this item. It's right here.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comment, we will close public comment.
Madam Chair, we have 2 more hands raised in chambers.
Oh, wonderful. Please get up to the podium and then make sure you fill out a comment card once you're done.
Hi, my name is Ruth Angel, and I live up in Granite Ridge. And I was concerned when I first saw it was a goal, and goal typically means intent. And then when I looked that they wanted to do a zoning change for, to higher density housing, I thought about a couple things. One of them I thought about was the traffic at Las Brisas and McCarran, North McCarran. It's horrible. So we're talking about just 65 homes. Let's just husband, wife, 130. So just that impact on that intersection, how that goes over with the city, I don't know how that works, but I know that that's a dangerous intersection for what's there. The next thing I thought about was water and sewer, which I'm not opposed to building up there, but I think it, like the gentleman before me said, that it should be consistent with the housing up there. 3-car garages and that sort of thing. And I know that the city council and the planning commission is all for, high density housing and getting people in homes, but it has to be consistent with the area up there. I'm also kind of worried about ingress and egress because the traffic up there with the schools. We've got 2 schools on Robb Drive. We have the high school, we have the elementary school right there, and they have little flags that they have to cross the street with so people can see them. I just have a lot of questions. I'd like to know, and it's been my experience that a lot of these things change when it's in the process, especially when they say intent and goal. I'd like to see what that means. And is there another option? I mean, I kind of looked up Rubicon Group to see, had they built high-density houses before? Yes, they have. And so that's my concern, that it might go that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there one more person interested in giving public comment at this time?
There was, but she said she's going to wait for the item to be presented first.
There's other hands.
Okay, please come forward.
I have similar comments to the first gentleman who's up here. I live on Moose Ridge Drive and.
Sir, can you state your name for the record and just?
Oh, my name is Alan Orcutt. I live on Moose Ridge Drive. What else do I need to know? All right. My concern is same about housing density up there on the new development. I did notice that even if our Moose Ridge Drive development was done in a SF8 zone, that the houses weren't that size. There's a fewer number of houses per acre than would be allowed in a SF8. So I was concerned. I saw that there was such a thing as a SF5, for instance, which I think is actually pretty closer to what our development is. And, I understand the desire to not have that new development at SF3 because it's probably impractical for the developer to build the houses on, 3 to an acre and sell them today. But I think that the SF5 would make it much more like what we have already. And I think that also would prevent there from being the crowding that we're a little concerned about of traffic leaving the new development, coming down Moose Ridge, which I think is the only exit out of that. I don't think there's going to be any other. So that was just my concerns. Thank you.
Great.
Could you please fill out a comment card? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Steve Neibler. I live on Fox Trail. And I would just like to say that several years ago, zoning was changed to SF3, and that is very consistent with what is in the neighborhood. And I see no reason to change it to high density. And if it's SF3, I don't think anyone would mind that, but there's just not the road infrastructure for high-density housing, and I would like to agree with everyone that's come up here so far, so thank you.
Could you
Thank
please
you.
fill out a comment card? Thank you.
And anybody wishing to give public comment on the item, we will also discuss this under a specific agenda.
My name's Kelsey Brown. We live off of Fox Trail on Sandalwood. And I have some serious concerns about the safety of bringing that much traffic in. I know the planning letter that was sent out said 60 to 65 homes. With the SF8, I mean, you're really looking at 128 if they only develop those 16 acres. That's 230 cars on a daily average going up to that small area. Our neighborhood was not built with roads intended for that. We have major fire issues up there, so you have to look at, you know, how people get in and out of the neighborhood there. We have some intersections, as was stated, Las Brisas and McCarran, Beaumont and Avenida. You look at Robb Drive, we've had kids hit. We've had some very fatal, tragic accidents right there at Beaumont and Avenida. And so when you look at bringing that much traffic in, not only are we changing our quality of life in this neighborhood where we all bought for this quality of life, where we have outdoor trails, all of the off-road access for Peavine comes from that area. There are a lot of new dirt bikers and mountain bikers. And McQueen has their mountain biking club that rides up there. So there's a lot of concern with going that dense in that housing as far as safety that we'd really like to see addressed when it comes to this. So, yeah, I think I just second everything that's been said. Thank you, guys.
Please fill out a comment card, ma'am. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to give public comment at this time? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. Now we're moving on to something that only happens once per year, and that's the election of officers
No.
for the planning commission.
No, we're doing the minutes.
Okay, sorry. We need approval of the minutes from the June 5th, 2025 planning commission meeting.
Commissioner Velto will move to approve.
Commissioner Becerra, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Looks like it passes unanimously. Now we'll move to item number 5, which is election of officers. I want to welcome our newest planning commissioner, Commissioner Tina Gonfantini. I also want to point out that she's been in the planning commission for a full 12 minutes and ask if she feels comfortable at this time making a decision on election of officers. This is an item for possible action, so perhaps it might behoove us all to postpone this 1 or 2 meetings as she gets her feet wet on this board.
I appreciate the opportunity. I'm comfortable moving forward.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I will take, we will do the chair nominations first. Does anybody like to make a
Sure.
nomination?
Commissioner Becerra, for the record. I would recommend the re-election of Chair Carrie Rohrmeyer to serve a full 1-year term as Chair of the Reno Planning Commission, completing the natural arc of leadership she began when stepping into the role following the prior chair's midterm resignation 6 months ago.
Commissioner Velto, I'd like to recommend nominate Commissioner Giacomin to serve as chair.
Any other nominations? Now, will we be taking?
This is just for chair, is that correct?
Just for chair.
Correct.
Mike, do we do this as an individual vote? First, once for, I guess, me, and then once for Commissioner Jockman?
I'm going to defer that over to legal to let them chime in on that.
Yes, that's how you would take competing nominations.
Okay, we will start with the nomination for Commissioner Jockman as chair of the Reno Planning Commission. We'll do a roll call vote.
Okay. Gonfantini?
Oh, I'm sorry, wait, I think there was a request for discussion. So I
Yes.
would open it for discussion. Does any of the commission wish to discuss this?
Absolutely. Commissioner Becerra, for the record, I have a question or two, happy to pose to the 2 candidates before us. I'm not sure who would go first, but whoever would like to take it. For both candidates, what qualities do you believe are most essential in a chair when contentious or deeply emotional cases are before us, especially when the public feels unheard or staff recommendations might be questioned? Commissioner Giacomin.
Thank you for the question.
I'm sorry, point of order. Is this question and answer time? I don't know if this is the appropriate venue to be putting commissioners to ask questions. I'm not sure. From the other, discussion is
Should we
one
defer
thing,
to
but
legal?
Well, I guess we could reframe
But
it to,
this was already questioned of protocol, and yes, we're allowed to have discussion on these matters.
And sorry, Commissioner Velto to chime in. I understand discussion, but the idea of turning this into a job interview is quite troubling for me. I think that we have a track record of the commissioners, and I think it's more appropriate to take a vote.
context is key, Commissioner Becerra, for the record, and it's probably important for the general public and this body, especially with the new commissioner before us, to actually
Sure.
learn.
Can I
So
chime in
I'll
for
just-
just a
I'll just
second?
chime in. I think that I am best suited to, given the vision that has been on this planning commission for the greater half of a year, I am best suited to steer the planning commission in the right direction with regard to bringing some more unity to this commission. Thank you.
I'll follow up and say unity is important, and I think that so is cohesive decision-making, and I've been in the role for 6 months. I also have 20 years of planning land use experience, as well as both academic and being on the other side of the dais, presenting projects and getting applicants and development to this community. So I would say I have a long history of understanding the zoning code, the ordinances, the policies in place, and from the local level all the way up to a federal administration. So I would really appreciate the opportunity to actually be appointed for a full one-year term.
Great. If I may, Chair, I'd like just a quick follow-up on that, since you both touched on some key things. What is your approach to collaborative leadership, and how do you manage when consensus is difficult but necessary?
Well, I guess since I went last in the last question, I will say, yes, I didn't anticipate having Q&A, but I think it's important for our fellow commissioners to understand that collaboration is the name of the game in this space. Land use decisions are an execution of the master plan vision for our city, as well as changing strategic plans, things like climate goals and economic development needs and workforce and balanced housing. So it's very important to understand that there are multiple stakeholders involved in every decision we make, and that these decisions are quite weighty. We don't look at them, any of them, as small decisions. They affect people, they affect our community, and they affect our economy. So if we aren't working together, then we're really failing to do the city justice.
So to that end, I will say that when I chose to take this position, I did so with the intent on focusing solely on the job, focusing on making the findings, nothing more and nothing less. And I think that's absolutely imperative to have on this body, as it would be anywhere, to stick to the job, nothing more, nothing less.
Anyone else?
All right, well, I suppose we should go to the roll call vote.
Okay. I need a motion first.
Commissioner Velto, I will move to appoint Commissioner Giacomin as the chair.
Commissioner Williams, I'll second that.
Okay, so we'll do one by one.
Okay. All right, Tina Gonfantini.
Commissioner Gonfantini, I approve. Commissioner Giacomin.
Can you turn her mic up? I'm sorry, can you bring the mic closer to you so I can hear you?
Commissioner Gonfantini.
Thank you.
Sorry, I approve Commissioner Giacomin as chair.
Thank you. Hang on, I have to type all this stuff. Just one second. Okay, Becerra,
No?
Del Villar.
No.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
No.
Thank you. David Giacomin.
Yes.
Alex Felto,
Yes.
Jacob Williams,
Yes.
Carrie Romeyer.
No.
The vote passes 4-3.
All right, well, I suppose we can hand the gavel over to Commissioner Chair Jockman, and then he can lead the next vote.
Do you have the gavel now?
Okay, commissioners, for the next position is for vice chair.
Commissioner Velto, I nominate Commissioner Williams for vice chair.
Commissioner Rohrmeyer nominating Commissioner Del Villar for vice chair.
Any further motions?
Commissioner Velto, I move to appoint Commissioner Williams as the vice chair.
Commissioner Gonfantini, I second.
Okay, Madam Chair, could we please do a roll call vote?
Okay. Carrie Romeyer,
No.
Tina Confantini,
Yes.
Manny Becerra,
No?
Christina Del Villar,
No.
David Jockman,
Yes.
Alex Felto,
Yes.
Jacob Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-3. Can we take a break and then we can move everybody? For just, you don't want to move? Okay. You want to move? No? Okay.
Madam
Then
Chair,
we're not moving?
Madam Chair, what would you prefer? Madam Clerk, I apologize.
No, you're fine just the way you are if you want to stay that way. I'm happy with that.
Okay, moving into the next agenda item, we have public hearings. We will take these in order, starting with 6.1. Do we have a staff report for this item?
Good evening, Commissioners. Grace McAdin, Senior Management Analyst. I'll wait for, oh, there it is. I'm presenting for case number LDC 25-00067, the Stone Village Condition Amendment. Subject site is located south of Parr generally and north of the University Park neighborhood. This is a condition amendment to amend condition number 1 of an old case LDC 22-00016. That was a major site plan review for an apartment complex on the site that is highlighted. This condition amendment would allow for more parking and less open space, and we'll get into that. So key issues we looked at with this request were protection of sensitive areas, open space, and parking. So here's the slide that kind of shows the layout of what was originally proposed and then with this amendment. So it would result in an increase of parking from 379 parking spaces to 487. What the developer found through constructing the apartment was that the market demanded for more parking. The closest bus station is a little over a mile away. You have to go through some slopes, some intermittent sidewalk, and cross a railroad track, so it's not ideal. So most of their occupants are going to be driving, and the street is fairly crowded. There's a number of apartment complexes already in this area, and then they would, because they're adding parking, they would reduce this common landscape area from 5.2 acres to 3.2. So you can see the existing request above, and then the current request is below. And so what this would result in is condition number 1, which is generally kind of requires the applicant to be in conformance with what they propose with their application. So if anything changes more than 10%, we require them to come back to this body because it's no longer what this body had approved. And so what we would change it to is we would add Exhibit C in the amendment so that it would effectively put in that new site plan as what they're going to be building. With this review, staff also had to add condition number 12. They're increasing the grading close to residential, which is fine. Our code does allow for that. But you do have to get the written consent of the neighboring owners. And so through discussion with the developer, they can either get that written consent or they have to modify their request to meet Exhibit E so that this body knows if they don't get that written permission, then we know exactly what will be built. So it's either written permission to do what's proposed or they can get meet Exhibit E. So through this analysis, they are still exceeding their minimum landscape requirements. They're still exceeding their open space requirements. They're adding parking that's still in conformance with RMC. And so if this was proposed with the original development, staff would have supported it as presented today. So it does meet all of the findings, and the recommended motion is on your screen. I'm available for questions, and the applicant is here with a presentation as well.
I'm not sure. Thank you. There you go. I'm Will Adler. I'm here presenting on behalf of Alco Construction. I'm the principal and founder of Silver State Government Relations. But briefly, I wanted to walk through the Stone Village Apartments just because it's a very unique site, actually, and we can kind of go through the thought process and why we end up with these new ratios today. As you can see, the site is unique. It is actually on top of this hillside, and it is by definition as infill can be. It is actually going for that higher density in a unique location. The site, though, is hard to quantify, but you can really see in this overview that there's a nice gap there. That brown space that isn't built right now is a transmission line, right? So we have to in all ways build around this whole easement issue of NV Energy and the transmission line. So it is an 11.46 acre lot, but as you'll see, we can only really build on the front 6 acres of that, and then usable space and what's on the back end on the south part is what we're talking about today. So again, looking at the GIS map, the early construction, as the planning staff said, we could have implemented additional planning at that parking planned into that time because we did exceed the open space and vacant space available. Because as you can see, the other structures do end right at that line to not be encroached by the easement for the transmission line. The overview of the parking site, like we said, the existing plan that's in place and unchanged today is in white. And the gray is the expansion of the parking at the south end of the parcel again. Maybe just on this one, it's easier to see here that it is a very north-south looking property. There's only the two entrances on the north end, and this will be sort of a ring road that goes down to provide extra parking inside the gray area. This actually came about with a new change of ownership. The property has a bit of a new vision. They do want to see more parking inside because the new owner identified there was some street parking going on, and they wanted to actually add more parking to the site to make sure people could feel secure and have their parking on property with them. But again, to avoid the transmission line, you can kind of see as these dark lines that go horizontally across, we could not bring further housing down. It was just simply a no-go. But because these are flat stack developments or parking, it is doable under these transmission lines. So these black lines crossing the horizon here, we are keeping the native space that was requested by staff previously. It is a nice rocky outcropping you can see there. It's in the center of this photo, so we're preserving that and not touching that at all. But as you can see, the development does have an increase in parking requests, whereas the south end, we'll start at this long horizontal piece, is against this fixed fence line with the property owners right there. There's no access to this lot from the fence line today. There's no access to hiking trails. There's no break in the fence line. So we wanted to keep that consistency with the parking layout that you see there. We'll get into it, the landscaping photo, but today we do keep that nice, 20 to 40 foot barrier. And then as the fence line is on the south end here, we're actually lowering the parking level to, at the highest, be no more than 4 feet above the fence line's base, right? So the base of the fence line, the parking will start there. You won't see a lot of headlights. There won't be a lot of encroachment for the housing there. And we'll get into it with the landscaping. We do plan on blocking with the double row of trees. But to go to the left side of the photo or the north end of the parking, the expansion on what is the west side or the left side of the photo here has this roundabout looking thing to the left. That actually has no housing and no units around it. Actually, on both sides of that is simply an emergency turnaround lane for fire access. there is no adjacent property owner. That's just the end of the development that had to be there for the roundabout. Again, this is the native space we're sort of preserving there, and on the right, you can see these transmission lines. They are quite substantial and large, so it is good that we did keep away from the south end there. But to keep the native space intact, we could potentially fence it. We could maybe add some more grass elements, but there are some good landscaping there today, and with this, we're keeping that intact. To get a little bit more detailed in the amendment, the area grading plan, again, the left side will be a little bit higher, but there is no back fence line, there's no residents, there's no neighbors to the immediate, what would be west there, on the northern part. But on the south end, again, we are trying to keep the step back intact, and the grading is actually no special needs required. We have good zoning, good distance, and good grading there. But I just want to point out, everything is on this hillside, and if you're looking left or west, you're all sloping downhill. So the right side of the parking will be a slightly graded higher, and the flow will go naturally down this wash that already exists there to a retention pond and drainage pond that was already installed by the previous development, as we have our own kind of retention pond for the rest of the impervious space above that. Again, just to sort of quantify it, the AAA or the AA is the west side or the north piece of it. As you can see, or actually in reverse, yeah. So the section AA is actually the southern piece here. So just to sort of put it in quantified status, we already have the first white parking above that. So the middle parking here is the new gray expansion area. We wanted to show that there is a good 40 feet of separation between that parking and the homeowners to the immediate south. We're doing a double row of trees, one of deciduous trees and one conifers, and you sort of double stack those, and it makes a nice sort of visual screen effect for the existing homeowners. You can also see we did put in a little transmission line pole there to show that really is unavailable space for anything but flat development like these parking developments. We aren't putting in covers or parking the steel structures on top of the parking garage. We're not doing that on this side just because, again, that would add another visual layer above the current fence line. So we want to be mindful of that and make sure the neighbors don't have to see the parking if they don't want to. So the section BBB is the north and sort of west side of the parking, and you can see the shadowy effect of the last piece of the construction of the development for Stone Village is actually right there. We're coming into alignment with that existing wall that we have today, and we're going to continue that feature on. It's a stone wall that goes to that housing development line. We're going to continue that south and bring that in to screen the parking that is there. Again, there's no neighbors over that fence line, but we are adding a row of deciduous trees or evergreens to the south end to do a buffer there as well. As staff said, it's not quite the 20 feet setback for the grading there. It's about 17.3, but it is sufficient if you look at the site and the realities of the lack of a neighbor to the left. Just looking at the southern boundary again, here's the fence line with the homeowners. As a continual fence line, there's no breaks to it, so we wanted to kind of keep that theme and make sure there's no encroachment to their properties. So again, we're going to do a double line of trees right here. We're going to keep that 40-foot setback and keep those visual disturbances down by lowering the dirt from where you see today, about probably 3 or 4 feet lower to make sure, again, it's no higher than 4 feet from the bottom of the fence line. This is standing in that roundabout circle that I was speaking of. So today, these are construction trailers on site that are doing the finishing of the build out. That's the end of the development and the last of the Stone Village housing that's still framed out in wood there. But as I said, we'll be adding that wall and continuing it across and lowering that dirt level again to make sure we tuck the parking in right there. But there is no backyard neighbor on this account. We'll probably fence it again just to keep it visually secure and nice looking, but not a lot of neighborhood concern on that one in particular. To end, we did just bring up our landscaping plan. As I said, on the south end, we do have a double buffer row. We do have evergreen trees with the deciduous trees there. And it adds that, layer of screening. Just the road kind of inroads, outroads you see kind of on the left and the right. Again, those are for NV Energy support. We have large transmission lines here, and they actually service them by going up and down the hillside there. So we're planning to have these ingress, egress, in and outs there, but that does not connect to the community on either side. That isn't a trail that reconnects it. We're keeping that separation barrier between the existing homeowners on the south end. And then again, like I said, on the north and west side, we do have that parking development and plan on lowering it a little bit, having that wall continued. That's that dark black line on the left. And then we do have a row of evergreen trees planned for screening that as well. That is all the presentation I have prepared for you today. If there's any more technical questions, we do have some of the engineering team to answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment on this item?
Let's see. I did receive one public comment that was forwarded to the Planning Commission and was entered as part of the record. I did not receive any request to speak forms for this item.
She wanted to.
We have one comment in chambers. Please step up
Okay.
and state your name for the record.
My name is Margie Custer, and I reside in one of those houses immediately to the south of this development. When it was originally approved, unfortunately, I was in California taking care of my sick mother, so I wasn't able to attend the meeting at that time. I did receive the postcard. I went ahead and called our supervisor at the time to find out if there was going to be construction immediately behind my home. They informed me that no, that there was an easement of 75 feet on either side of the power lines that would not be encroached upon. So when I saw that this recent postcard came to the house, I tried looking it up. I don't know how the numbering is done, but I couldn't access anything. So I was planning on coming to the meeting. From what I see here, this is going to be immediately up to my fence. In all due respect, I understand that this project has been sold and revitalized from another builder, but they have not been acting in good faith up to this point. Initially, there was a cross fence placed into the back of my fence, and they put lights with alarms on it, and they were going off when we would walk inside our homes. Both me and my neighbor had the same problem. And it's 25 feet from my bedroom window, and having an alarm and a light shining brightly into your bedroom is very disturbing, especially since these went up when there was not a speck of wood, a trailer, anything out there. It was just dirt. I had to call and talk with code enforcement, and they finally got the lights turned off. We've put up with hearing to the beep, beep, beep of backing up trucks. They're not supposed to work on Sundays. This last Sunday, there were contractors up there making noise. So I understand that they say that this is going to be below grade. Frankly, I don't believe it, because this whole project sits above where my house is. You can see the 3 stories from the street in front of my house. We've dealt with noise and dust and everything else, and now I see this, that they're wanting to put the parking right up next to my fence. There's a lot of noise that happens when you have apartments. And having it that close was not what we were told was going to happen. We were assured that it wouldn't happen. So I'm pretty upset that this is what's being suggested and what potentially could be approved. Thank you.
Hey, can you turn in your,
Do we have any more public comment in chambers? Hearing none, we will now move to disclosures, starting with Commissioner Valto.
Commissioner Valto, no.
Commissioner Williams, no disclosures also.
Commissioner Gonfantini, no disclosures.
Commissioner Giacomo, no disclosures.
Commissioner WR, familiar with the site?
Commissioner Becerra, familiar with this site and read and reviewed material and public feedback by email.
Commissioner Romeyer, same.
Okay, we will now move into questions for the applicant and staff.
I have a question.
Please proceed, Commissioner Romeyer.
Yes, may I have a question for staff, please? Hi, Grace. Grace. I just wanted to ask, it's unusual to get a request for more parking, or i.e. more paving versus less vegetation. Usually with over parking, there's a requirement to do more landscaping. Can you tell me how this complies with AB 96, the new urban heat master planning effort in our city? Seems like this would add to that issue.
Yeah, so this is kind of a competing interest when we were reviewing these cases. It doesn't meet, currently in code, we have if they exceed 150% of their parking, then they have to increase their landscape area. They don't meet the 150%. They do have to increase the landscaping per 12 stalls. They still have to add trees for that. So that's kind of why they don't have to, they don't meet that 150% threshold.
And what is the city gonna do about the urban heat effect? I always am concerned when I see that we're going over parking. It seems like the wrong direction for addressing urban heat.
Yeah, so for the assembly bill that just passed, that's requiring a master plan amendment. That has not yet gone into effect. I think we have about a year to do that, and so that will be a process we will take on for the urban heat island in the master plan.
So no mitigations being expected of people at this time then?
Not specific to that assembly bill. Like I said, we do have thresholds for additional landscaping if they meet certain thresholds, but because we would have approved this if it was introduced first, I know it feels a little funky because we're adding more pavement at this stage, but if this was presented first, they're exceeding their landscaping, they're exceeding all of their minimum requirements, and so it still would have been supported at that time. And then they still do have the mitigation with the 1 tree for every 12 spaces. So that does kind of help with some of the shade.
Thank you.
Got one. Commissioner Williams, hi. Hi. Who would be best to address the residents' concern about that setback and the promise about the 75 feet? Is that under the purview of the city? Does that exist?
Yes, well, NV Energy and the city, typically, with those easements, it's construction, and so since parking, they can still access those lines, that's usually one of their concerns. It usually falls within an allowable construction material underneath those easements, and so there won't be any vertical construction under, that close to the neighbors' homes, but the flat work can be done under those construction lines within that easement.
So just to confirm, so basically they have rights to access that land. It's just the vertical would be restricted by the...
Typically,
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly the language in that easement. They do have to get approval through NV Energy. Typically with these transmission line easements, they can do flat work as long as NV Energy can access those lines.
Okay, so even if it was dirt, they would still have access to it per se.
NV Energy?
I mean, in general, even the...
This easement specific to NV Energy
it's
because it's a
specific to-
transmission line.
Okay,
Correct.
gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Becerra?
Yeah, Commissioner Bisser, for the record. Hi, Grace. Just in simple terms, what's the need for the additional parking? Just
Sure. I can also defer to the applicant. From their application materials, with the new ownership, and then as they've been building these apartments, they've found that they do need more parking because the street parking is often taken up. And then they did want to offer that on site for their residents. And so it was just kind of a market need that they saw.
do you know how, maybe it's for the applicant, how do you measure that need? Because we had a couple cases before us recently where we faced a similar situation.
Will Adler, for the record. As the new ownership took over, they actually identified the area. I'm not sure if we could pull up the larger map. But looking at where you are is a little easier. Specifically, on this map, you can kind of identify that in the top right corner there is actually the jail and the detention center, and the traffic flow throughout the area is actually pretty significant. But today now, the exterior of the building is a pretty busy street, right? So the level of development on the front half or the north end is significant because we tried to stack all the vertical development there, and a couple amendments were already made to the plan. Additionally, there was 3 stories of development on the front end. That was asked to be reduced to 2 stories to sort of blend out with the neighborhood. But again, looking at the neighborhood, several people already use the parking across the street, and several of those developments already have overflow parking, sort of parking on this development side of the street as well. So just looking at the realities of the neighborhood around us, there's multifamily housing, again, straight across the street and to the right. It seems to be parking is an issue in the area to date. So to get ahead of that, to make sure we are doing what's right for the development that's here, we do want people to say, you know, I want to park in my development, not on the street and sort of clogging up for the rest of the neighborhood, because it is becoming a denser area. So leaving it to have Gardale Avenue be the parking lot is not really appropriate at this time. But it is a thought that flat stack or non-vertical development is allowed under these easements with NV Energy. We've received approval through the transmission easement agreement because, again, we have those access routes sort of going in and out of the parking, and they'll be able to reach those lines. Some other thoughts are that we do have that native space in the middle that is undeveloped and underproduced, but we did, where possible, add trees to that. We did try and add some urban heat reducing elements. But yeah, we added a few extra trees, I think, in fact, on the south end to try and screen that. So I do want to, we did try and do this in mind of the region and the residents in the area.
Great. Just a quick follow-up. Thank you so much. What were those heat urban reducing elements that you implemented that you referred to?
Extra trees, making sure, we did a double screen of trees, not just one. We wanted to make sure we did actually have, landscaping where possible. Before sort of an open space with a track, we did say, hey, if there's more asphalt, there should be more leaf cover too. So,
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
There is no additional public comment after that item. Commissioners, Commissioner Del Villar.
And actually, this is for the applicant. Sorry. You're back. I just wanted to address actually to her question. I'm just trying to figure out like what the distance is between her house or those houses and where the parking lot actually starts.
So, Will Adler, for the record, just in case. As you can see, there's sort of the deciduous tree and the conifer tree, and you have your 2 arrows on the top of AA. It is a 40-foot distance between, the first bumper of that car or the edge of the parking lot of the curbage to the fence line. And then we do have another variance of 26 feet between the first tree line and the second tree line and the fence line. So we did try and stack it with a good bit of distance there. But we are, again, trying to lower the fill and get it below the, if we left it at the current parking level, you can see on the left, the headlights would be very much in line with the top of the fence line. So we are lowering it down, making sure at the highest it is, no more than 4 feet from the bottom of the fence line. And that'll be at the very north end and then sloping downward it'll be lower because it all drains that way, kind of thing.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions from commissioners?
I had a question.
Please proceed.
Yes, I wanted to ask, I suppose, staff about what is the RTC service looking like up there? And if there had been a request to do any shaded parking on that side? I know they placed it in part of the project, but not here.
The closest, are you talking about Flex Ride or the closest transit stop?
Both.
So the closest transit stop is a little over a mile away. You kind of have to go down Gardella, cross the railroad tracks, and then get to Virginia. I do think that this area is actually outside of Flex Ride because there is a transit stop nearby. But I'm not positive on that one. But the transit stop's a little over a mile away.
Okay, and was there any consideration for shading on that additional parking?
Well, a couple things. One, to do with that easement. I'm not sure if the shaded parking would comply with the requirements in that easement language for the transmission line. And so, no.
Could we extend that question to the applicant, please?
Hello, Will Adler for the record. Again, we did look at shading or doing car park sort of coverage on that. The other issue with that is A, they're visible above the fence line at all times, whether there's a car there or not, and B, there would be additional lighting maybe under each of those to minimize the lighting and sort of light pollution on the southern end. To be mindful of that, we are doing the required amount of lighting, but really minimizing the light impact to that area. But again, the transmission lines being directly overhead, we did think it might be better not to go for the additional shading parking spots, just because that too is a consideration at this time.
Okay. And just since you're already standing there, what about bollards for lighting instead of overhead lighting?
I don't know.
We do have a requirement for very specific lighting standards in our code. One of the problems with bollards is they shine up, and so we always want them to be shielded downward to prevent the light spillage. So I don't know that staff would support the bollards for lighting unless we could get a little more specific.
Even behind a fence?
It's just not, it's not to code because it shines up, and then the photometric plan would be different. So they did provide a photometric plan, they're meeting code. I don't think that the bollards would differ from what was proposed.
Okay. Just in the future, that might be a nice solution for shaded parking to minimize any light spill. Thanks.
Any other questions from commissioners? Hearing none, we will close questioning and go into deliberations. Commissioner Rohrmeyer on Zoom, do you have any comments to add?
Yeah, I'll just say that I can't support a project at this time that would increase overparking without some consideration for urban heat. The city really needs, as the fastest heating city in the nation, really needs to take this seriously, and there's been a state mandate to do so.
Commissioner Becerra, for the record, I would just concur with that statement. I do applaud the applicant for making an effort, but it seems like it's missed the mark on this one.
Commissioner Velto, I'll just say I think there are some unique conditions. I don't mean conditions in the sense of the findings we have to make, but there are unique conditions surrounding this project that warrant the change to have additional parking. I think we've already approved this project, and really we should just be looking at whether this change has any benefit to the applicant. I think staff's done a good job explaining why this change is beneficial, and I appreciate the specificity included in some of the exhibits they've provided. I can make the findings, and I would support the project.
Commissioner Becerra, for the record, I think I'd just build upon that sentiment and also ask the body to consider not just the benefits to a developer, but the adverse impacts potential to the surrounding residents. Sometimes that's the case, sometimes it's not, but it should be considered.
And I guess on Commissioner Velto, just to follow up, I don't think there's been any admissible evidence put into the record that speaks to some of the effects that are contemplated by some of the preceding commissioners. If we're trying to make findings and look at evidence before us, I have not heard evidence to support the conclusions that there'd be a significant heat island effect, and we should be cautious about some of the things we're expected to consider when we're reaching our findings.
I believe the city has always had a policy about overparking, and it used to be in the master plan that overparking at 110% was considered off limits. This has been a substantial change in the direction of the city to go to the mitigation threshold of 150% overparking. I do think now that with the state mandate requiring analysis of urban heat effect, that this is one area, although we are in the interim, that requires additional analysis and thought. And so I will stand my vote on this one. I oppose it.
Any other comments during deliberation?
Commissioner Williams, I should have asked, how close are we to this 150% threshold? Is that something we can re-ask staff? You mind, Chair?
Commissioner Williams, yes, if you would like, we can go back to questioning.
Yeah, do you mind?
Please proceed.
Okay.
Grace Mackin again for the record. I don't know if it's in the staff report. I think it was pretty close, though. It was about 130-something%, so it was close.
130. Thank you.
I don't think
Okay,
it's in there.
that's fine.
But that's a ballpark.
Approximately 100.
Hey, Grace, while you're up there, Commissioner Reserve, for the record, how drastic of a change would it be if they reach the 150% threshold from what they're expected to do now at 130?
For that particular code section, I think it ends up being a percentage. You have to increase the landscaping. When staff was reviewing this, again, there's competing interests here. But really what we fell back on is if this were presented to start with the original case, because they're exceeding all of their requirements, we would have approved it. So that's kind of hard. We were lacking a nexus for how we require more landscaping if we would have approved this originally. So that was how we tried to balance some of those competing policies.
Commissioner Del Villar, I did some quick math and it looks like it's about 28% or 128.
We will now close question and go back into deliberation. Any further comments from commissioners, or would anyone like to entertain a motion?
I have one more comment, and then I'll not add any more. I think it's kind of a slippery slope here that we're trying to make determinations based on what we would have done at the time a project came in. The standards and the codes and the situation has changed, so I think we really have to be careful that we're only considering what we're considering at the time at which it comes in.
Go ahead. Commissioner Williams. For what it's worth, my only no vote on this board in my short time was the reduction in parking. So I'm not a fan of the reduction in parking, and it's why I voted that way. So, you know, in one case, I'm sympathetic to understanding that parking is a huge issue, and it does impact quality of life. I'm also sensitive to that we're getting close to a threshold state mandate here that we're all working towards, which is reducing this heat. I think one of the things I was looking at is there is a very dramatic cut in this common area space, or that Nevada energy landscape common area between these homes that will exist once this is paved. Really disturbing that area. So I think that's one of the things I'm kind of battling with. We got upper thresholds of, you know, possible heat and asphalt, and quite the big difference in between these homes. So anyways, that's all for me.
Commissioner Jockman, so I'll say something. I was a little confused, admittedly, at the first time that I read through the staff report, seemingly requesting that it was looking for more parking spaces. That's not a request that this body typically receives. So to me, it was a question of whether or not we're comfortable with reducing that common landscape area. And so I believe Ms. McAdam said it at one point in the presentation that as proposed tonight, that would not be something that would typically require discretionary approval from this body. But the fact that they're making a meaningful modification to a condition of a project that was previously approved is enough for me to be comfortable with this proceeding. So, any other comments from commissioners?
Commissioner Del Villar, I understand all the different points of view. I live in Ward 4. I recognize the parking issue, no doubt. I also am, familiar with the direction that we want to go in and the heat issue we're having in our city. Just curious, did you consider not having that many parking spots added? Like, why that number? And I'm just curious.
Will Adler, for the record, I'm not the owner of the property, obviously, but I did ask similar questions myself, and I I do want to put some visualization under this. If you're under an NV Energy transmission line, there is no vegetation to date. There is nothing but bare dirt and it is scraped clean. So the albedo effect or the heat there, I stood under it today, is quite significant as is, right? So I do think adding some vegetation under that and having the maintenance of trees and having that might actually do a buffer effect of what's actually going on today. But the amount of parking was asked for, said, you know, what's the vision of this property today? The vision is going to ultimately have a gated entrance at the front end. And the idea of having extra parking for visitors, for guests, for additional folks is not compatible with actually having that new front entrance. We're going to apply for that, I believe, in a week. That might be in front of you again, to have the gated entrance in the front. But that would create this idea of, you know, you need additional parking for those who are inside, and what's going to happen when you have a guest visit. You want to be able to have them visit there, not necessarily, you know, eat up the parking on the outside. But as you said, if you drive the streets today, or especially at night, there's a lot of street parking today, and there does seem to be an insufficient number of parking out there. So I agree with the owner's vision, saying, you know, let's tackle this in a responsible way. Let's use the ability to build flat stack underneath these lines, and actually, you know, create a better resource for those who want to live here. So I see the vision. I kind of agree with it. So
Thank you, and apologies for kind of opening up questions again.
Chair, would you entertain a motion?
Please proceed.
In the matter of case number LDC 25-00067, based upon compliance with the applicable findings, I move to approve the condition modification subject to the conditions listed in the staff report, and I can make all the findings.
Commissioner Joachim, I'll second the motion. Madam Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote for this?
Yes. Manny Becerra?
No, cannot make the findings. Specifically, consistency with Reno Master Plan 1A and Master Site Plan Review A.
Okay, David Joachim?
Aye. Yes.
Carrie Romeyer?
No.
Alex Felto?
Yes.
Jacob Williams?
Yes.
And Tina Golfantini?
Yes.
And Christina Del Villar?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes 5-2.
That concludes item 6.1. We will now move on to 6.2. And for this item, would any commissioners be interested in entertaining an expedited motion on this item?
Commissioner Becerra, for the record, sure.
I'll second that.
Are there any objections across the commission? Okay, we will move to disclosures for 6.2, starting with Commissioner Valto.
Commissioner Velton, no disclosures.
Commissioner Williams read the provided material.
Commissioner Gonfantini, no disclosures.
Commissioner Del Villar read and reviewed the information.
Commissioner Becerra, familiar with the site, read, reviewed, provided materials.
Commissioner Joachim, no disclosures.
Commissioner Romeyer, no disclosures.
Okay, we will now entertain a motion. Commissioner Del Villar.
Do we need to open public
Could you
comment?
open public comment?
I apologize.
Okay. We did not receive any public comment for this item. We did not receive any request to speak forms, and I don't believe anybody is on Zoom with their hand up.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. My apologies. We will now entertain any motions.
I will make a motion if somebody can put it on the screen for me. Thank you. Based on compliance with the applicable findings, I move to approve the conditional use permit for LDC 25-00062, subject to the conditions listed in the staff report.
Commissioner Velto, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We will now move on to item 6.3, Moose Ridge zoning map amendment. And we will begin with a staff presentation.
Good evening, members of the commission. For the record, Leah Picotti. I'm an associate planner with the City of Reno Development Services. And this evening, I am presenting an application for a zoning map amendment for Moose Ridge. The subject site that we're looking at tonight is approximately 42 acres. And tonight's, let me tell you where it is. It's just north of Somerset in west North Reno, northwest of McQueen High, north of the I-80. So the request that we're looking at tonight is a zoning map amendment from single-family residential 3 units per acre to single-family residential 8 units per acre. And this is what that looks like on your screen right now. And as you can see, there is existing SF3, SF5, and SF8, as well as parks, greenways, and open space around this parcel. To the north of the parcel is Washoe County zoning. So it doesn't show up on our map there, but it is a large lot residential zoning for Washoe County as well. Key issues that we looked at in this zoning map request were compatibility with surrounding zoning and uses and conformance with the master plan land use designation of single family residential. I didn't include a slide on this, but I want to talk a little bit about the background of this particular site and these sites and kind of how they ended up with the zoning that they have now. So the site that we're looking at, this SF3 site, was part of Washoe County. It was annexed into the city in approximately 2005. At that time, the Washoe County zoning was the same as our large lot residential 2.5 acre minimum. So when it came over for a request for annexation, at that same time, they did a zoning map amendment to SF15. And that's a little bit confusing for people who aren't familiar with zoning because SF15 seems a lot different than SF3. But actually, the zoning for SF15 was single-family residential, 15,000 square foot minimum lot size. When we updated Reno Municipal Code Title 18 in 2021, we changed that to be more in conformance with others, with other districts and how they zone things. So SF3 is 3 units per acre, which essentially equals out to 15,000 square foot lots. So it went from SF15 to SF3 in 2021, but essentially what was allowed there did not change. Similar things occurred with the zoning in the subdivision right below with that SF8. I've had an inquiry today regarding how that ended up at SF8, and it was pretty much the same thing. Annexed into the city under large lot residential, went through a zone change, became SF3, and then, or SF15, and then, or no, I'm sorry, that became SF6, which would have been 6,000 square foot lots. And then when we updated the code, it became SF8, which requires 6,000 or 7,000 square foot lots, depending upon if it's interior or exterior. So I know that that's very confusing how those zones have changed, but essentially what is allowed on those zoning districts hasn't changed in the last 20 years. The zone changed when we updated code. All right, so again, what we looked at was compatibility with the surrounding zoning and conformance with the master plan. So here you can see the master plan land use designations. Everything that you see in yellow on your screen is single family residential land use designation. And everything you see in green is that parks, greenways, and open space. The proposed SF8 zoning does conform to the single family residential land use designation under the master plan. Then looking at the development standards here, there are some differences between SF3 and SF8, namely the setbacks, right? Building height stays the same, building area maximum coverage stays the same. The minimum lot area does change from the 15,000 square feet to the 7 or 6, depending on interior or exterior. And same with the lot width. So 80 feet lot width under SF3. Now we're looking at 70 or 60 under SF8. So the zoning map amendments are on the board. Zoning map amendment findings are on the board. Does it conform to state law? Yes, it sure does. And does it conform to that single-family land use designation? Yes, it sure does. A couple of other things that I want to mention, because I've heard from the public here just in the last couple of days. When I submitted my staff report 2 weeks ago, we didn't have any public comment, or maybe one, on this project, and now I have a few. So I've heard a lot about traffic, and I've heard a lot about density, and I've heard a lot about those things. So under state law, a property can be subdivided into 4 parcels without having to go through subdivision procedures. Okay? Anything more than 4 has to go through subdivision procedures. We have to install infrastructure and roads and utilities and all of those things. So we are looking at a tentative map coming forward, and when that tentative map comes forward, we'll have a better idea of what we're looking at in terms of development. Furthermore, this particular site is steep slopes, and it's going to require quite a bit of grading. I'm assuming there's going to be hillside development standards, which in turn reduce the allowed density. So for anybody who's thinking, well, they could probably get the 65 homes under that SF3 right now, maybe, but maybe not. We need to look at the slope calculations, because hillside density, depending upon what the slopes are, reduces the density, the allowed density. So that is the direction the applicant is going. Also, because we have hillside development and because we're going to have mass grading, we're going to have future entitlements on this property. So not only are we going to have to see a tentative map, but we're going to end up with a major site plan review, which will all come back before this body. And at that time, we will look at things like traffic mitigation, and all of those kind of development related aspects will be reviewed at that time. Right now, today, we're just looking at the zoning, just straight zoning. Findings are on here. And when it comes down to conforming to the master plan, yes. Conforms to state law, yes. Is it reasonably compatible with the surrounding development? The SF8 zone is compatible with the SF8 zone that's directly to the south of it, and the SF3 and the SF5. Again, I pointed this out before, but compatibility is not that 2 things are exactly the same. Compatibility is that they can coexist without conflict. So can the SF3 zone occur here? Staff finds that it can. That concludes my presentation. The recommended motion is on the board, and the applicant is here to give a presentation as well. Thank you.
Good evening, Derek Wilson with Rubicon Design Group. Thanks very much for having us here. Leah has done a fantastic job of presenting everything, so I will do my best to not repeat too much and not waste people's time. So that's the subject parcel, north end of Moose Ridge Drive. So in my discussion with the public, it's become obvious that it's important to point out what this is not. It's not a dense development on 42 acres. It's a zone change on 42 acres. We anticipate, and I use the words anticipate and proposed because we're still working on the plan. We're not at that stage yet to present a site plan. We're at a zoning discussion. But our expectation, based on engineering expertise, is that the southern roughly 16 acres is developable, and the remaining roughly 26 acres will just remain as open space. We're not going to use it. It isn't really feasible to use it. As Leah pointed out, it's steep and has some restrictions. We anticipate 60 to 65 houses is what we can reasonably fit in that 16-acre area. So this is the formal request. It's a zone change to SF8, and again, Lee did a great job here, but a lot of the issues that the public have raised are tentative map type issues, those design issues, traffic issues, things like that. There'll be a public process that will go along with that tentative map application, which we anticipate is forthcoming, so everyone will see this project again. Existing zoning, SF3, proposed zoning, SF8. Here again, I have to briefly address some interaction with the public. Mr. Weaver and Mr. Weaver spoke under public comment. We traded emails. I was sorry to hear from him that he felt my handout was misleading. I could joke that this is the first time in decades of doing this that I've been accused of suppressing public input by handing out flyers, but I'll leave that alone. But the reason that's important is because the project team and myself are always available for public discussion. So we do want to talk to the neighbors. In an ideal world, everyone would be happy. We realize change is difficult, but we also realize that property owners have rights and they can sometimes develop, provided that they follow the rules. So we want people to be informed. We want public interaction. So we took the extra effort of going around to the neighborhood, handing out flyers in the hopes that people would not be blindsided, that they'd be apprised of the entire process, the zone change, and the forthcoming tentative map. So hopefully we achieved that. Again, I'm sorry Mr. Weaver was not satisfied, but I'm happy to meet with anybody to do the best we can to get information out there. And I need to point out that the flyer that was criticized, it made a zoning statement that our requested SF8 matches the SF8 that's already on the zoning map. I think that there was an attempt to read more into that than was there. Again, those are tentative map issues that I feel were being discussed. SF8 obviously matches SF8, so we're asking for a zoning match. Master plan supports our request. That's a view of the site. Looking north from the end of Moose Ridge Drive, you can essentially see the flattish area that we propose to develop. So I think the site is fairly obvious in engineering terms of where you would put houses. And it certainly looks to me like Moose Ridge Drive was built with the expectation it would extend up onto that flat area at some point. So we are not a standalone developer in this case. The city of Reno owns the property to the east of us, and they have already worked with us to establish an easement running east over to the next neighborhood to the east. And the goal there is, we're working with Tumwa as well. Tumwa very much wants a water connection from our proposed project to the existing neighborhood. And that adds redundancy to the water system. It adds increased firefighting capability. It adds improved, more reliable water service to both neighborhoods, to Moose Ridge Drive and the neighborhood to the east. So it accomplishes something that obviously the city of Reno and Tumwa both want because they're working with us to achieve this. So the easements are in place, and part of our tentative map design will be an emergency access road and a water line that follows that yellow path shown there. So as a little exercise, we've heard a lot about traffic. This addresses infrastructure. Is infrastructure in place to serve the project? In my opinion, yes. That top rectangle shows Moose Ridge Drive, roughly 33 feet of travel area, of pavement area, pavement width. Just for comparison, that lower rectangle shows West Plum Lane that handles thousands of cars a day. I don't know the traffic numbers, but it's in the 4 figures. That's nearly identical paving width on there. So to say that the roads don't exist in that neighborhood, I think it doesn't stand up to some engineering review. So zone change summary, we're in conformance with the master plan. SF8 is compatible with the area. Major infrastructure is in place. Roads and utilities are already in place in the neighborhood, and we're going to enhance those utilities with any project. So anything we do there, Tumwa's going to make us do that water connection. So not only is infrastructure there now, but we're going to enhance it with any project. We've done a fair amount of public outreach on this project. We had a neighborhood meeting with Devin Reese. The project team and myself delivered information to the neighborhood door to door. I've done my best to respond to every call and email that's come in. I think I've seen all of them. Again, Leah's been good about getting me that stuff. And then future tentative map, we're going to be back for another hearing before anything gets built. So that's all I have. We have engineering staff here. We have the property owner here. We're certainly available to answer any questions. Thank you.
That concludes the staff and the applicant presentations. We will now go into public comment on this item. We have one request to speak form, Mr. David White. Would you please step up, state your name for the record? You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you for the chance to speak. My name is David White. I'm a resident of Moose Ridge. It's been good to see some of my neighbors here. I would just make an appeal to consider a little bit of history. This has been tried before. It failed. One aspect of history. Another aspect of history is there has been flash flooding and mudslides in that neighborhood that I've heard of. That was before I moved there. I understand this about engineering and mitigating risks of all of that. I just don't agree that it's going to improve, but probably be worse, as that mountain's going to dump down on those houses. So I feel bad for anybody who would live in that area for that reason. The traffic, not convinced that there will be sufficient roadways to accommodate the increase in traffic. This has been expressed by some of my neighbors who I'm sorry could not make it tonight, but has been expressed by people who did, with whom I agree. I just think that's a little bit too much to add. I would humbly ask the people developing it to maybe consider not needing so much density. I've seen the SF8 development down the road. That looks more like condos than the houses that are characteristic to that immediate area. Please reconsider. Thank you.
Do we have any other public comment in chamber? Please.
Is it possible to take over 3 minutes now?
Yeah, please step forward. And
You'll need to fill out a new public comment form.
after speaking, please fill out a form, state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Craig Weaver. Good afternoon again, Commissioners. So as you saw, there is existing FS3. There's a little tiny slice of SF3, but it's not built maximizing the FS3 standards, or excuse me, FS8. I misspoke. So there's that little sliver of FS8. But the homes that are built there are not built to that standard. They're on 1/3 and 1/4 acre lots with front yards, side yards, backyards, and 3-car garages. The road, that's apparently as wide as Plum, it goes straight down, dead ends in a hard right turn, and then there's these little roundabout areas that the trash trucks can't even get through. They bump up and pop up, and during the winter, the landscaping gets knocked down, the concrete gets wrecked. So it's just one little sliver of a wide road. So you'll get to that later. But the main thing I wanted to mention is I think we're putting the cart before the horse. They're asking for a zoning change for high-density zoning when they don't have a plan. 64 acres. Was it 16 acres going to be developed with 65 homes? 65 homes and 16 acres. How is that at all consistent? How does that match with what's on Moose Ridge right now? So what they're trying to do is fast-track a zoning change to then open up the floodgates to allow high-density residential in an area that's not suited for. We've got Melton Elementary right there. The school buses don't serve that neighborhood. We're within a 1-mile radius. Kids don't have the option to get on a bus and go to school. You know what they do? They walk, they ride bikes. And if we're going to put high-density housing less than a mile from an elementary school, with kids walking and riding their bikes to school, and we're going to increase traffic, that's going to be a problem. It's also the one off-road access point that's legal. The Las Brisas access point is part of that zoning change. So there's a lot of things that aren't being looked at right now. They just want you to look at this in isolation. They want you to say, hey, it's just a zoning change. Look into it more, read into it more, ask the questions before considering that approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Please step forward. State your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Wait, Mr.
I live on Moose Ridge Drive. I wasn't prepared to speak,
so I'm going to wing this real quickly. The existing is SF3. I printed out a copy of this. I see that the minimum lot size is 15,000 square feet. The next zoning down is SF5, which is not being proposed, and the minimum size is 9,000 square feet. The proposed zoning change is to SF8. A corner lot minimum is 7,000 square feet, and an interior lot is 6,000 square feet. And math is not my strong suit, but I did some quick calculations. And this is, well, let's see, first of all, my house has 10,964 square feet on the lot. And the house that is directly adjacent to the entrance to this project is 11,267. Together, that's 11,115.5. Excuse me, if you add that, it's 22,231 divided by 2, 11,115.5 would be the average size for my lot and the lot that's adjacent to this proposed development. So there are 16 acres that can be developed times 43,560 square feet per acre, 696,960 square feet, divided by the average 11,115.5 is 62.7 houses. Okay, Mr. Wilson's letter says that their goal is to create 60 to 65 new housing lots. Well, okay, Moose Ridge is SF8. Do you want to go to SF8? But if they're using the same square footages per lot as what is already on Moose Ridge, and they're proposing to put 60 to 65 new houses, that doesn't account for the streets or common landscaping. So what they are proposing is absolutely a significantly higher density for this neighborhood, much higher traffic for streets that are purely residential. These are not thoroughfares. And that's a big problem. If this was a thoroughfare, it might be a little bit different. But if you go down Avenida de Landa, the lower part of Avenida de Landa, where it's residential, those people put up with a lot of heavy traffic through there. Thank you.
Could you please fill out a form?
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment in chambers?
Is this sufficient?
Yes, thank you.
Got public comment, I'm ready to ask.
Sure. Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment on Zoom?
No, we do not.
Hearing none, we will close public comment and move into questions from the commission.
Could you do disclosures, please?
I apologize. Thank you. We will move into disclosures. Commissioner Velto.
Commissioner Velto, no disclosures.
Commissioner Williams read the provided material and familiar with the area.
Commissioner Gampiantini, no disclosures.
Commissioner Jockman spoke with folks opposed to the project.
Commissioner Del Villar read and received the information and familiar with the site.
Commissioner Becerra, same disclosures as Commissioner Del Villar.
Commissioner Rohrmeyer, same disclosures, and I have a question when you're ready.
We will proceed into questions. Commissioner Velto.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, I have some questions for you. I am very hesitant to ask this question because I understand it might not relate to the findings we're required to make. But it's like stuck in my head. So you've told us that there are 16 acres that are developable of this big parcel of land. At SF5, and you've told us you think there'll be 60 to 65 houses. SF5 at 16 acres, you can get to your number. Help me understand why that doesn't work.
Because, well, I may pass this off to the engineer, but I'm afraid I didn't get the gentleman's name correct, Mr. Harlan. He, despite saying he's not very good at math, that was some pretty good math. We do have to account for roads and detention basins and things like that. So we may not be able to guarantee we can hit those lot sizes under SF5. Yeah, is my understanding, yes. And we got hillside issues as well.
And I kind of expected that to be the response. I'm just trying to understand, if you look at those 16 acres, and again, I understand this might not be related to the findings we're trying to make. I'm just trying to process this. If you look at these 16 acres, and you would say that maybe there'll be like 3 acres that you might need to have SF8 in order to make the project work, but you might have some acres that would work theoretically under SF5. Is that kind of the explanation?
Yes, yeah, there's some easy acres and there's some tough acres. Let me add an addendum to Mr. Harlan's comment and to yours. If we can't make them fit and be legal, we're not going to do it. So if we have to cut our unit count, we'll cut it. Yeah.
We'll go to Commissioner Rohrmeyer. Next question.
Thank you.
Derek, I have a question. Since you were able to do a slope map, I presume, you have engineers, why not do like to the south where you have identified in your zoning map, the area for a single family and make the rest parks, greenways and open space? So that would ensure that there's public accessibility, any trail connections, any future trails that you just wish to create as part of the development. Why isolate it to just the SF request?
I think we need a little flexibility under the hillside ordinance issues because we have some steep slopes and we want to be free to move the lots away from those steeper slopes. So that SF3 gives us a little more flexibility on that, having the whole thing zoned that. However, we're getting into difficult engineering territory here, but if we could make our current unit count work and dedicate some of that to the PGOS category, we wouldn't be opposed to that. But I think if city staff is comfortable with our proposed zone change, I think I have to rely on their analysis.
Understood. It's just disappointing since most of the development surrounding you has done that other approach. Thank you.
Other questions from the commission? Commissioner Velto, go ahead.
Please, my question is for city staff. Yes, how are you doing? So I really want to focus on what we are supposed to look at. So I want to understand, we are right now at the zoning map amendment stage. How does staff evaluate what a potential project's effects would be at this stage?
Thank you, Commissioner Velto. That's an excellent question. Leah Picotti for the record. I think at this particular stage, every zoning map amendment is different. So we're always looking at what are they trying to go to. I mean, if they're trying to go to industrial, then that's a whole different thing. But when we're looking at single-family residential, despite people calling this high density, it's really not a high density project. If it pans out the way the way that the applicants intend for it to pan out, it's going to come out at about 4 units per acre, somewhere right around there, which when I'm looking at that surrounding zoning, and I've got the SF3 and 15,000 square foot lots, and I've got, SF5 with 10,000 square foot lots, and I've got the SF8 which is directly to the south, those lots range between about 8 and 11,000. Actually, most of the lots right kind of adjacent to that picture that we saw where it goes up onto the property, those are all right about 8,500. So when I'm looking at a potential development, and I'm looking at the density of the surrounding area, I think that this is compatible with that. And granted, we're not going to know more until that development comes forward, but staff is comfortable making a recommendation of approval on this because of the subsequent entitlements that are going to be required.
Can I ask a quick follow-up on that? So, and Leah, you talk about the density, and there was public comment that stated that in the surrounding areas, while the zoning may be, for instance, SF8, for example, the actual density is lower. When you're evaluating compatibility, are you looking at the actual density or the permitted density under the zoning that surrounds the parcel we're considering?
I'm looking at both. So I'm not only looking at that SF8 zoning, but then I'm also looking at the history of how that became SF8. And then I absolutely look at the actual density of that development. And as I outlined in my staff report, there's a table in my staff report that I didn't include in my presentation that actually has what the actual lot sizes of the adjacent developments are. And they're generally, some of them are in the 6,000 area, similar to this. Like I said, the one directly to the south, that's all right about 8,500 in that particular area. They do go up to about 11,000, depending on where you are, but the majority of them are in that. So I look at both.
Thank you.
Commissioner Del Villar, I think, I'm not sure who this is for yet. So my concern with this is, sort of to Commissioner Velto, like why didn't SF5 kind of come into play here? And you kind of, that was kind of answered by the applicant. But why would we rezone all 42 acres? It just seems like there's potential, and I get that it's hard to develop and expensive and there's slope and all that other stuff, but why would we change the entire zone for that area if they're only going to actually focus on 16 or 17 acres, whatever it is?
Well, that is a fabulous question, and I probably can answer it. I think it's better answered by the applicant.
Thank you.
I'm trying to do two things here. On the one hand, excuse me, on the one hand, we have no problem dedicating that or zoning it open space. On the other hand, I'd like this process to move ahead, and I'd like a decision to be made tonight and not have this project be delayed.
Well, so maybe I'll explain why I have concerns is we get a lot of things that come before us, I can't tell you how many times things have changed, and if we rezone it, that whole area, and again, I get that you'll come back with a tentative map for us and some other things too, but just trying to sort of mitigate some of that now and try to determine if there's some sort of compromise we can make so that.
I can offer a compromise. It's not a zoning compromise, it's a future compromise. And that would be that when we get our tentative map lots drawn, then we dedicate the remainder as open space. So that would provide a legal protection. That requires you to remember this and look for it when the tentative map comes in. But my experience is planning commission and city staff have long memories, and if you talk nonsense up here, they call you on it. So yes, we would be happy to dedicate the unused portions of our parcel as open space, including some continuing some public access trails. That's the owner's lawyer is going to have something to say on that at the right time, but we're not opposed to it.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Commissioner, I have something for the applicant. You spoke that you're engineers here. And
Yes.
you also spoke that you are generally close to a tentative map plan.
Yes.
Okay. Doing math, which I am also not good at, it says roughly 10,000 square foot lots, not including any infrastructure, open space, or roads. Do you guys have a general idea of, I mean, if you're mostly through a tentative map, wouldn't you have a general idea of what these lot sizes are going to look like?
We are not going to hit 10,000 feet, 10,000 square feet. They'll probably be 5,000 to 6,000.
Okay.
The majority, probably most of them within that range, between 5 and 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I have something for staff, whatever. Do you have something for applicant?
Go ahead, Mr. Commissioner Williams.
Commissioner Williams, again for the record. What does, I tried to do a brief search. What would we consider high density at this point in the city? Lot size. Is there a general idea of?
Well, thank you. That's a good question, Leah Piccotti for the record. Generally, when I'm thinking about high density, I'm thinking about stacking. So generally, we're looking at multifamily or condos or things like that. You know, there's not a standard that says this is high density and this is not high density. I live in SF8 and I don't consider the area that I live in high density. I have a beautiful yard and trees and everything else. So there's not a general standard, if that answers the question. And yeah.
I did a little clicking around on the Washoe Quick Maps. There isn't a single lot I found in that upper part of that area that's under 10,000 square feet.
I can pull it up on my computer. I have it.
You have it? I've just been clicking random houses. So when you're looking at, even if it dipped down into the 8s or 9s, we're talking about 5s or 6. And, correct?
Sort
I mean, if
of.
we just
So
mentioned 5s or 6.
I don't think the applicant really got into it, but so minimum lot size in SF8 is 6,000 or 7,000 square feet. However, I think the intent here, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to use cluster development. So they can reduce the lot sizes, and cluster development can be used in any zone. It could be used in SF3, it could be used in SF5 or SF8. They're going to reduce the lot sizes in exchange for more open space, if that makes sense. So they can't increase the density. The density does not increase. The maximum allowed number of units is the same, but the lot sizes can be reduced in exchange for open space. And I know you haven't been here for very long. I know some of the other commissioners that have been here have seen these cluster developments in the past few months, and it's a bit confusing. But a lot of times when we're looking at lots that have development constraints like this, we'll suggest as staff to use cluster development so that there are smaller lot sizes and we're preserving more open space. And then that way, when the tentative map does come in, we can send it over to Truckee Meadows Trails and have them look, because now we have extra open space to work with. We can look at dedication of that open space. We can look at all of those different things. And one of the reasons that staff didn't recommend rezoning this as partially Parks, Greenways, and open space, and then the rest of it SF, is because the applicant wasn't there yet. Their tentative map isn't done. So in the meantime, they can do the SF3. Those, what did we say, 30 acres or so are probably not going to be allowed to be developed. Anything on slopes over 30% can't develop it.
Commissioner Williams, one more question for you, Leah. Factoring in the hillside issues that we're going to have, does the city have a general idea using the hillside grading reductions of what this is going to eventually look like? No. Okay.
I haven't done the math myself. The applicant may have more information on that.
Okay. Thank you. Does the applicant have?
Yeah. For the record, Jason Gillis, Tech Engineering. In regards to the hillside, there was a previous tentative map on this project, and the hillside development process through that already delineated the areas that qualify in those different grading zones. So going back to the zoning issue we were talking about earlier, any of that really steep stuff, you don't get any zoning for it anyways. It's a 0. So even though it can be zoned whatever, you're not getting any density for the really steep stuff. But that's public record, part of the original tentative map. It's gonna be the same numbers we use when we have our tentative map. To Derek's point, yeah, minimum 6,000 square foot lots in this. under this zoning. And, it's really tough to say when we're doing this engineering. We want to keep that minimum or better, but there's a point in the grading, especially on a site like this. You saw those twin hillsides. We make a lot a little bit bigger, and all of a sudden we chase that scar all the way up the hill. So that's where the cluster helps us to limit that grading. But we fully intend that most of the lots will be at that minimum for the zone, for the SFA.
Thank you.
So I don't know if I answered all your questions.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping for a number, Commissioner Williams,
the
again, for the
number?
record.
I'd
I mean,
have-
you're crossing your fingers, we're gonna get 65. I mean, what's the realistic outlook on it? Is it 40, is it 50?
My client would love it if I got 65.
Yeah.
I'll be satisfied if I get in the high 50s. That's the God honest truth. It may not even end there after staff looks at it, after we deal with Trails and Tumwa and everybody else. But we're just not there yet. But per the hillside ordinance stuff, I think when you take it to SF8, the maximum you can get on this, and I'd have to check the numbers, is 73. That's if per the numbers, using the old tentative map hillside ordinance, the site doesn't get there unless you go to an attached type product. If we want to keep it single-family residence, it's going to be in the 50s, 60s.
Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Jockman, so I have two questions, both focused on engineering, and the second one I think will be for, well, I'll go with this one first. Staff may want to layer in. So there was a public comment about that touched on flooding. So there are canyons in that area. You have a lot of topographic change. Obviously, we're looking at a zoning map amendment, so I recognize that we do not have a project in front of us, but what sort of elements to this project might provide a betterment or mitigation, nothing less than that, with regard to flooding in those canyons and through, because those folks do live downhill from where this development would occur?
Certainly. Again, Jason Gillis, for the record. There's one drainage that comes out of that canyon, roughly aligns with the dead end of Moose Ridge, and then turns off to the east, goes down, gets captured in the city's storm drain system. You can see it in the topos, the dirt road that comes off the end of Moose Ridge. There's at least 3 spots where that dirt road crosses the creek. High school kids go out there and do their thing, and I know, I lived in this neighborhood for a long time. Both my kids went to Roland and graduated from McQueen. So the off-roading that goes on right there has degraded that portion of the creek. It's flat. When they catch a flood, that water comes up, it follows the dirt road right down to Moose Ridge. That's what happened years and years ago. They fixed that, they threw a berm up. The last time I was in front of this body, we worked with the last homeowner at the end of Moose Ridge on the east. As part of the design, we were gonna put up a berm to push any water that came down that way away from her backyard. At the same time, with our development plan, we have to channelize that creek, we have to detain our excess water, we have to basically solve that issue of stormwater coming down the creek. And city staff's pretty good at holding our feet to the fire on that.
Sure, so Ms. Bacati, I guess, would you like to add into any of that? Are there any codes or standards that a future tentative map would be subject to that would require the applicant to not just mitigate, but perhaps even improve the stormwater attenuation that the residents to the south would be subject to?
Yes, absolutely. Commissioner Zuckerman, Leah Picotti, for the record, we have a large section of code on these particular matters and what's going to be required. I would say, oh gosh, at least a couple hundred pages of our 600-page zoning code.
Okay, so that's good to hear. Well, can you say that allowing development to occur in this parcel will overall improve the future floods that may occur, that 100-year event?
I can say that when a development proposal comes forward, not only will this project meet, but it will exceed those codes.
Thank you. I'll yield to any other commissioners for questions.
Sure, Commissioner Becerra, but I believe Commissioner Rohrmeyer has her hand up, and I'll go ahead and yield to her first.
I've gone once, so Commissioner Becerra, why don't you go and then I'll ask.
Sounds great, yep. More clarifying question, Leah. How does this proposed zoning change align or maybe not align with the initiative that kind of was brought to light in one of your past projects around the foothills where we gradually go to lower density as we go higher up in elevation?
Thank you. Good question. So it's not necessarily that we go to lower density, it's that we try to keep those lower densities on the outskirts. And what we've seen in this particular area is that SF8, and who knows what's going to happen with the properties to the north of that. Those eventually could get developed and annexed into the city as well as development starts to move out into those areas. So I would say again that SF8 is pretty low-density zoning. It's not large lot residential, but I'm not sure that we're going to end up seeing horse property out in those areas anytime soon. I think we have a site that has adequate infrastructure. We have TUMWA, we have utilities, we have roads, we have everything ready to develop this site. So why not utilize that?
Great, thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? Commissioner Rohrmeyer?
Yes, please. Hi, Leah. I just wanted to ask two questions. First, can you tell us with cluster development, and I was just reviewing all the code sections on hillside developments, what is the provision for a reduction by cluster? Could they have asked for, and should maybe they have asked for a higher zoning classification that feels more palatable to the neighborhood, and then still use the cluster standards to get the lot size they desired? I mean, how much smaller can those lots be? What is the deviation?
Thank you, Commissioner Rohrmeyer. I don't believe that there's a specific standard for a deviation in cluster development, but we'll check on that here and just confirm that. There is not a standard deviation for that.
Are you saying that they could have asked for like SF15, but because of the hillside provisions, the cluster development maybe would allow for an SF3 like footprint?
If I'm following your line of thought, yes. I mean, cluster development can reduce those lot sizes, but doesn't allow for the increase in density.
Seems like, okay, so it would be good to see calculations like that to kind of see the cost benefit. I think that would help understand the context of the neighborhood. But also my other question was, does a slope map not generally drive the zoning request? I feel like we're doing this backwards. Can you give me your interpretation?
Slope map's not required for a zoning map amendment. I feel like we could have asked for something like a slope map, but the problem is that we're not looking at development here. And I know that this seems backwards, but this is the way that it is done. Zoning comes first because the applicants don't want to put the time and the money and everything that's going to be required into the engineering for a tentative map if the zoning doesn't get approved. So the first step is really the zoning. Now, looking at what is feasible on that property, that's going to be up to the applicant and their engineer. And I had several conversations with the applicant about what kind of direction we were going with this. And they were open with me about the fact that they believed it was going to end up being cluster development, but they just don't have a tentative map ready at this point. So I can't start reviewing anything related to development until I have that. And they don't want to start creating that until they have the zone change.
I appreciate that, Leah, but the applicant just stated that they had that information on hand from the previous development. And I might add that a simple GIS analysis would identify 30% slopes or greater at no additional cost of services. So we should be able to identify where those 30%, 100% requirement for open space in those areas. So maybe the applicant could address that.
Again, Jason Gillis, Tech Engineering for the record. I believe you're asking where the slope map is, but my answer is it's public record. We didn't hide it. We're not trying to hide it. We're talking about it. We're gonna use it during the tentative map process. As you can imagine, the steep slopes are, at the top of the hill. As you work away from Moose Ridge, as you go up that hill. I guess I don't understand the question exactly, Carrie.
So would it make sense, because your surrounding developments have both types of zoning, both parks, greenways, and open space, and places designated for single family, and that you are asking for a zone change? So my feeling is the simple slope map indicates where 30% slopes are or greater. And yes, it makes sense that they're uphill, and certainly over to the west side where that Tumwa water facility tank is. To already have identified those and then have your zoning map reflect those areas that you know you're not going to be disturbing, to be consistent with the neighborhood.
I guess my point was that since it was public record from the previous tentative map, we didn't feel that we needed to lay that out that way.
But if you could, in essence, be asking for two types of zoning in your zoning map request that is in fact more contextually relevant to the neighboring properties.
We could.
Now, your position might be that you don't agree with that. I'm just asking, do you or don't you?
I guess I don't know that it's a matter of agreement. Any of those areas that are steep, we don't get the benefit of the zoning density for anyways. So it accomplishes the same thing.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the commission? Hearing none, we will close questioning and move into deliberations.
Chair, ready to.
Please proceed, Commissioner Alto.
Thank you, Commissioner Velto. This is a difficult project for me to evaluate. The trouble with these zoning map amendments is, in my view, we are just supposed to look at the surrounding areas and what the zoning permits and make a determination as to whether this zoning is compatible. The applicant has come forward and clearly has a vision for what they want to do, and they've given us some information that I wouldn't typically expect to hear at a zoning map amendment as to what that vision is and how the project's going to go. I'm concerned that our questions are somewhat using their preparation against them when we should be looking really just at the surrounding zoning and whether this is compatible. I'll start with the compatibility issue. I guess I slightly disagree with Leah respectfully on this point. I view it more as what is permitted, not what is being used. And I think the reason why I view it that way is if you had two parcels next to one another, one was SF8, one was SF3, the SF8 parcel just had one house on 10 acres. I wouldn't support us precluding the SF3 parcel from going to SF8 merely because the SF8 parcel owner decided not to build on it. That's why I think we should look at what is permitted, not as what is actually used. So I think so in terms of compatibility, because the surrounding zoning, there is zoning next to it that is SF8, I do think it is compatible. I hear a lot of concerns about how this development will play out, and I'm comfortable getting to the zoning map amendment change because of all the hoops that they will have to go through and all the chances we'll have to look at it, especially if they're considering cluster development. I mean, we dealt with a cluster development project off 7th recently. It was a whole new set of findings on top of the tentative map findings, on top of the other things that we're going to have to look at. So I almost think that issues about traffic, a bunch of the other stuff that were raised, very valid concerns, but not ripe for our consideration because we're just looking at compatibility with the surrounding zoning areas. So I think it says a lot that the applicant is willing to commit on the record that they will designate certain areas for open space going forward. We can't condition a zoning map amendment, so the only way we can bind them to that is in the future remembering it and bringing it up. But I guess I'm stuck with that perspective and the other perspective of where it seems like they might be able to get to do it with SF5, and then Commissioner Rohrmeyer's comments about, well, if they're going to do, and this was kind of my understanding of it, is if they're going to do cluster development anyway, it doesn't matter what the zoning is because there's no deviation requirement. So I'm kind of stuck between those two parts when evaluating that. Those are my thoughts.
Commissioner WR, thank you, Commissioner Velto. I have similar issues with, I mean, again, looking at what's permitted, right? But what's permitted is, we're looking at 42 acres, not just what they're planning on building on, and that's where I'm struggling right now. And again, I totally appreciate their willingness to designate what they don't use. And again, I get the catch-22 and horse before the cart and all that stuff. But again, for me, it's just a concern that if we do the zone change, it's for the 42 acres, not just for whatever, 17, 18 that they might actually end up using. So those are my concerns.
May I follow up on Commissioner Del Villar's comments
Please
in my
proceed.
discussion?
Yes, please proceed.
Yes, I really want to bring that to light as well, because the zone changes for the full 42 acres, and that density is going to be transferred, and with the cluster development used advantageously to the number of lots that end up on the tentative map. And what I'm sensing here is incomplete engineering, because there is no additional cost or effort to really put a slope map on top of zoning and identify and carve out areas that could be parks, greenways and open space. That this feels very much like we're going to see something different at the tentative map, and I think it will come to a surprise to the neighbors that they're not going to be happy with. And this could have been demonstrated tonight very clearly.
Commissioner Becerra, for the record, similar sentiments as Commissioner Rohrmeyer, Del Villar, and actually as Commissioner Velto as well. I'm kind of in the middle right now, trying to get to the findings, but at the moment I cannot. So I'm a reluctant kind of no at this time.
I guess I'll speak to your comment there, Commissioner Rohrmeyer. So when we're looking at a zoning map amendment, you mentioned incomplete engineering. It is tough for us to review those things, and sometimes when we have a concept presented to us from the applicant with a zoning map amendment or an SPD, we might jump to conclusions about what that concept could be, yet that, again, might not be what the project ends up being. So for that very purpose, to me, it kind of looks like we should be focused on the request for the zoning change and keeping that simple, because we will see it again should a tentative map come forward. Thank you. Any other comments from the commission?
I got one. Commissioner Williams, for the record. I'm struggling with neighborhood compatibility. I just, the way that the master plan is laid out is that these areas are going to be generally consistent with higher densities in the middle and moving its way out to less denser areas. It feels like we're going backwards here. To go from a general area, and I've continued to click on these lot maps to find where, staff is saying that they're generally in the same. I've found maybe 1 or 2 out of 20 or 30 that are less than 10,000 square feet in total lot size. So to go back to 6,000 square feet lots in a cluster development, that is not compatible as you go up the hill, because most of this in the master plan was designed to have buffer areas around these more higher, denser areas. I think this could have been also in the SF5, and I would have supported that. I think as far as this stands, I can't make the recommendation to the council that this is compatible with the existing neighborhood.
Commissioner Del Villar again. And to sort of Commissioner Williams' point, and I don't know sort of what the process is. I'm going to look at Mike. But again, it would be good if we could come to some resolution tonight. Is there a way we can talk about SF5 or only zoning certain acreage, or I don't know how that.
Yeah, I think Commissioner Del Villar is asking if we have the ability to modify the application, and also if we were to suggest doing so, if we have the ability to ask for the support from the applicant.
My only request on this is that if we do that, we should ask the applicant their perspective.
Well, of course.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just wondering if that's, because again, he said they'd like to get to resolution tonight, and I think that there might be some compromise.
I'm going to make a statement that I want legal to confirm, but I would think that if that would be the case, it would be more appropriate to continue this item and renotice for what the zoning proposed would be.
So if that's the case, this is a zoning map amendment, so this will go to city council regardless, is that correct, of our vote?
That is correct.
So perhaps for the applicant, we should, instead of a continuance, it's going there anyway, right? So we should make a decision regardless and allow it to proceed to city council. Yes, applicant, would you like to speak to that?
I appreciate you trying to manage that. We would accept a continuance. We think it makes sense to give our engineering team time to take a hard look at that and make sure that works for us. We believe it does, but I think a 1-month continuance would work for everyone.
I'll make a motion to continue the item.
Commissioner Becerra, for the record, really quickly, do you know what the ask is, so, sir, like the additional information being asked of, so you can make it?
We would like to evaluate whether SF5 would achieve our project goals.
Okay, great. And then Commissioner Rohrmeyer, was there anything about the slope map you wanted them to focus on in this month duration? Just trying
Yes,
to-
I think in the follow-up presentation, it would be very easy to demonstrate topography, slope map, so contours, slope map, and your proposed zoning.
Just trying to make use of everyone's time here. Be judicious.
Would
I
any other,
appreciate the reminder. We're happy to work with staff on working out what they think works as well. Sure.
since we are still in deliberation, would any commissioners like to provide any other comments for the applicant to consider before a motion for continuance is made?
Commissioner Williams, go ahead. Not really. I think they get the gist of the idea, but I just want to say that I appreciate the openness here to win, and I think we all want this to be successful and just harmonious. So I just appreciate your guys' flexibility and willing to work with us on making this happen. Appreciate it.
If I could interject, the applicant stated that they would be willing for a 1-month continuance. So we would ask that you continue date certain to August 20th, the August 20th hearing.
If you're changing the zoning, it has to be renoticed, though.
True.
Can we do that in a month?
Yeah, you can't do it date certain, because the same description carries over.
Echo. Mike, would it be appropriate to do a motion to continue at least 30 days for a date in coordination to be decided in coordination with city staff and the applicant?
Yeah, the applicant's nodding his head, so I think that would be best.
Perfect. So moved.
Second.
Sorry.
Since this is this is a first, so this is a continuance on a zoning map amendment, which I believe would typically be a roll call vote. Does that apply for this type of vote, Mr. Hall? So we can take this, okay. We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion for continuance carries unanimously. We will move on to item 6.4.
Mr. Chair, if it would be okay with the commission, could we take a 5-minute recess to?
6.4, should we? Yeah, we can take a recess. We will take a 5-minute recess and reconvene at 8:13. Okay, we will reconvene the meeting. Commissioner Rohrmeyer, are you present online?
Yep.
Okay, we will pick up where we left off. We were proceeding into item 6.4, AAA paving storage yard. Do we have any public comment on this item? Madam Clerk.
No, we do not have any public comment on this
Can
item.
can I motion to expedite this?
Do any commissioners have an objection to expediting this agenda item?
Agree.
Okay, hearing that, we will forego the staff presentation.
Sorry, Jeff.
Um,
Let me pull
Pardon?
up a motion here.
We will now entertain any motions from the commission. I apologize, we need to do disclosures, starting with Commissioner Valto.
Commissioner Velto, no disclosures.
Commissioner Williams, no disclosures.
Commissioner Gampiantini, no disclosures.
Commissioner Giacomin, no disclosures.
Commissioner Del Villar, no disclosures.
Commissioner Becerra, no disclosures.
Commissioner Romeyer, same.
We will now entertain a motion. We did public comment already. Yep, so,
All motion. You all right? In regards to case LDC 25-00058, based upon the compliance with applicable findings, I move to approve the conditional use permit and major deviations subject to the conditions listed on the staff report.
Commissioner Del Villar, I second.
we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. We will move on to item 6.5. Item 6.5, South Meadows Parkway Extension grading. We will begin this with a presentation from staff.
All right. Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. Jeff Foster, Associate Planner for the record. Tonight, the first case that I'm bringing you was going to be the second, but thank you for expediting that one. The first case I'm bringing you is LDC 25-59, the South Meadows Parkway Extension grading. The project site is about 15.9 acres, comprised of a portion of 4 different parcels on the east side of the future Rio Wrangler Parkway extension, about 855 feet east of the existing terminus of South Meadows Parkway in the city of Reno and the sphere of influence. The request before you tonight is a major site plan review to allow hillside development, grading resulting in cuts greater than 20 feet and fills greater than 10 feet, and disturbance of a major drainage way. As we zoom in here a little bit, the area surrounding the project site is currently being graded to accommodate Talus Valley Villages 24, 25, and 26. The proposed roadway extension grading is being coordinated with the grading of the Talus Valley project, which would allow the grading of the future roadway to occur prior to construction of homes on the adjacent lots, thereby minimizing impacts to the Talus Valley community. The request addresses all mass grading for the initial phase of the South Meadows Parkway extension, including grading the footprint to accommodate a 75-foot wide arterial roadway, the redirection of a major drainage way through the site, and slope stabilization. The key issues that staff analyzed are hillside development and grading and major drainage way disturbance. The zoning is planned unit development, Talus Valley. You have 2 zoning designations in the county as well, medium density rural and general rural. The master plan is a combination of single family neighborhood, parks, greenways, and open space, and unincorporated transition. And on the screen are 5 goals and policies that support the proposed request. A little bit of background, the South Meadows Parkway extension was planned as a part of the Talus Valley PUD, which was adopted in July of 2020. The extension was identified in Figure 7 in the PUD handbook, and that's the figure in the top left side of the screen. The extension was also identified as a planned arterial to help connect Reno to Story County, thereby providing an alternative route to the Tahoe Regional Industrial Center, otherwise known as TRIC, as a part of the Regional Transportation Commission 2050 Regional Transportation Plan. The extension was also listed in Appendix A of the 2050 RTP and identified as the TRIC Southern Connection. The request will ultimately help improve regional connectivity. So, to some extent, slopes within the project site are a result of previous grading activities. The project site was disturbed by past aggregate pit mining operations, previously graded for access to the NB Energy substation and the Tumwell water tank, and provides public access to a private property to the east. Hillside development, nevertheless, hillside development is triggered since slopes exceed 15% on more than 25% of the site. Grading is estimated to impact approximately 15.9 acres, with cuts expected up to 37 feet in depth and fills anticipated up to 40 feet in height. Okay, the minimum open space preservation requirement is about 7.67 acres, but also remember that RMC requires additional open space to be provided at a rate of 2 to 1 for disturbance or development on slopes 30% or greater. That results in an additional 5.77 acres of open space that is required for a total of approximately 13.44 acres. The project includes about 31.86 acres that will remain undisturbed, and that's shown in the two areas here. These areas are currently planned as common area open space per the Tallis Valley PUD handbook. Dedication of these areas, which includes a visually prominent ridgeline when viewing the site from the valley floor and from Veterans Parkway, preserves natural slopes and the character of the surrounding foothills. To minimize the area of disturbance, the project proposes a combination of 3 to 1 and 2 to 1 slopes and a mesh anchor system for slope stabilization to provide a more natural appearance than traditional rock or concrete walls. And staff is recommending conditions number 5 to 7 to address enhanced grading techniques, including treatment of slopes, riprap, and noxious weeds. Turning to the major drainage way disturbance, the project site is in a watershed that drains approximately 407 acres within an ephemeral drainage way. It was previously disturbed by the dirt road and is clearly not in a natural state. The road was cut within the drainage way, and over time, the drainage way has found its path alongside and within the road. In locations where the drainage way is within the road, accelerated erosion is evident. The current state of the drainage way leads to degraded water quality downstream and does not function like a natural drainage way. The drainage way will benefit from improvements that include relocation and fortification of flow banks, which will improve water quality. And the future design construction plans for the permanent road improvements will include revegetation plans that would apply drought-tolerant species. Here are the recommended findings, the standard findings for a major site plan review, and staff can make all recommended findings. Here are the recommended findings specific to fills, hillside development, and a major drainage way for a major site plan review. Again, staff can make all recommended findings. And here's the recommended motion. The applicant will now be making a presentation, and I'm available for questions.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Commission, for the record, Garrett Gordon. Despite the fact that I do love to talk, I'm going to say we can't talk about a road any more than staff did. So I'm here for any questions. The planner from Wood Rogers is here for any questions. Our civil engineer is here for any questions, and it's a roadway, and happy to give my presentation, but I think Mr. Foster adequately covered a proposed road. Thanks.
We will now move into disclosures. I apologize, public comment. Do we have any, Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment on this item?
We did not receive any public comment for this item, no request to speak forms, and no one's on Zoom for this item.
Thank you. We will now move to disclosures, starting with Commissioner Velto.
Commissioner Velto, I spoke with the applicant's representative.
Commissioner Williams, I also spoke with the applicants.
Commissioner Gonfantini spoke with the applicant's representative.
Commissioner Jockman spoke with applicant representative.
Commissioner Del Villar, no disclosures.
Commissioner Becerra, familiar with this site, and a brief exchange with the applicant's rep.
Commissioner Rohrmeyer, brief exchange with applicant's rep via text.
Okay, we will now move into questions from the commission for the applicant.
Commissioner Becerra, for the record, honestly, it's probably unlike me, but I actually would entertain a motion, but I feel like it might be premature, but just want to throw that out there.
Any comments? We will now move into deliberation. Any deliberation from the commission?
I just wanted to say it's nice to see the slope map. Thank you.
If,
During deliberation, anyone can make a motion at any time, so.
Commissioner Becerra, ready to make a motion. In the matter of case number LDC 25-000059, based upon compliance with the applicable findings, I move to approve the major site plan review subject to the conditions listed in staff report, and I can make all the findings.
Commissioner Del Villar, I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries on item 6.5. We will now move into item 6.6. And for this item, we will start with disclosures, starting with Commissioner Velto.
Commissioner Velto spoke with the applicant's representative, familiar with the site.
Commissioner Williams, familiar with the site and read all included material.
Spoke with the applicant representative.
Fellow commission members and Madam Clerk, in the interest of full transparency on this item, I am disclosing that Kimley Horn is my employer. Here, the applicant is seeking approval of a tentative map. The applicant is a client of my employer. On this matter, I sought guidance from the city attorney's office. I've been advised that I have a per se commitment in a private capacity to the interests of my employer under Nevada revised statutes. I have also been advised that the independence of judgment of a reasonable person in my situation would be materially affected by my commitment in a private capacity to the interests of my employer. Accordingly, I will not be participating or voting on this item today. Madam Clerk, please accept this disclosure and lodge it on the record for this meeting pertaining to this agenda item. I will step out of the room. Would the Vice Chair please take over in my absence?
All right, we'll continue on with disclosures.
Commissioner Del Villar, no disclosures.
Commissioner Becerra, familiar with the site, brief exchange with the applicant's rep.
Commissioner Rohrmeyer, no disclosures.
All right, we're ready for staff presentation.
All right, Jeff Foster, Associate Planner for the record. Commissioner Becerra, thank you for catching that I had one too many zeros in my last motion, so that won't happen again. Hopefully it didn't happen on this one too. Okay, so Jeff Foster bringing you LDC 25-60, the Reno Revival tentative map. The project site is about 7.53 acres, bordered by North Virginia Street to the west, East Commercial Road to the north, Lake Street to the east, and West 2nd Street to the south, with University Way bisecting the property. The request before you is a tentative map to subdivide the existing Reno Revival buildings, formerly known as Harrah's Reno, and create 33 individual parcels to include commercial and retail, plaza area and landscape, hotel, parking garage, skybridge, central plant utility, residential, subterranean and basement, and common element parcels. So, just a little bit of background. The Harrah's Hotel Casino closed on March 17th of 2020. The property was purchased in October of 2020 by CAI from Caesars Entertainment, which began development of the Reno City Center project in February of 21. Construction stopped in May of 23, and the redevelopment project subsequently went into bankruptcy in February of 24. Madison Capital Group purchased the property out of bankruptcy in April of 25, and their efforts are focused on developing a mixed-use downtown destination known as Reno Revival. The key issues that staff analyzed are the mapping process and traffic and pedestrian safety. The zoning district is mixed-use downtown entertainment. And the master plan land use is downtown mixed use, and here are 18 goals and policies from the master plan that are in support of the proposed request. So, turning to mapping, the purpose of the tentative map and the final map processes is to merge and re-subdivide the existing 19 parcels, creating a combination of standard parcels for the courtyard area along Commercial Row, the parking garage, and the easterly residential tower. Three-dimensional condominium parcels are proposed within the basement and floors 1 to 4 of the remaining existing building. Floors 5 and above in each tower will be consolidated into a single parcel reserved for hotel and residential uses. And this mapping approach is intended to separate commercial and retail parcels from the hotel and residential parcels. I was going to dive into the weeds a little bit further, but it's probably really not necessarily necessary. What I would point out is that condition number 6 is recommended to allow additional common elements that may become necessary in the future. Turning to traffic and pedestrian safety, since the project involves redevelopment of the site and buildings with uses that are similar to those that existed previously, the city did not require submittal of a traffic study for the tentative map phase. The existing sky bridge across University Way, which links the west and east portions of the project, will not be available to residents and visitors parking in the garage on the east side. It is anticipated that there will be a substantial increase in the number of pedestrians that would be crossing University Way. And staff had included condition number 8 in the staff report, but you also subsequently received a memo recommending deletion of condition number 8, and I'll get into that in just here in a second. Here are the recommended findings for a tentative map, and staff can make all recommended findings. And here's the recommended motion regarding the deletion of condition number 8. The reason that is that a lingering condition that survives after the final map and that relates to any building permit, which could include things like demolition permits, and other types of building permits for other portions of the project that are unrelated to the project's modes of transportation and crosswalks, is not advisable. Any proposal to incorporate a mid-block crosswalk will trigger the requirement for a traffic study to ensure compliance with adopted city and related standards. Therefore, staff is recommending the deletion of condition number 8. And with that, that is the end of my presentation. The applicant will now be making a presentation, and I'm available for questions.
All right.
Good evening, Mr. Vice Chair. Good to see you.
sir.
Thanks again. For the record, Garrett Gordon. On behalf of the applicant, with me tonight is Brianna Bolantini. On behalf of the property owner and applicant, and Justin Moore, who is our surveyor. I will be brief, but this is really kind of definitely a fun project. It's not every day that a commercial subdivision map comes before you. Usually you guys approve what you did earlier, or contemplated earlier, tentative maps, which is a 2D map that subdivides properties. This is pretty neat and innovative, is as we go vertical, just like a residential condo that you can buy kind of up in the air rights. Here we're doing a commercial subdivision map, which are pretty prevalent in Las Vegas, but really one of the first ones we've done up here in Reno. So Mr. Foster covered the site. Of course, it's the old Harrah's Casino Hotel. Part of the reason for this mapping is to be able to convert it now into a mixed-use urban development with retail, office, residential, hotel, and all different spaces and parcels. So it's very easy to sell off different portions of the project, as well as lease it, as well as develop it. Of course, this is the existing photos of the Harris site, which you're all familiar with. So here's kind of the meat on the bones. So you can see 19 existing parcels, flat 2D parcels. Interestingly, you can see the plaza, which of course we want to redevelop, has 10 parcels subdivided into it. So you can't redevelop it, you cannot redevelop it correctly. If we wanted to put a building out there, we couldn't put it over property lines. So really, this is a cleanup both on the vertical side, on the horizontal side of APNs to make sure a parcel falls under an existing building. The plaza is in fact one parcel. The parking garage, as you can see here, is not 2 parcels, it's 1. And how did we end up here? As Bill Harrah developed this property, he did it in a series of phases and a series of decades. So as he developed it, he acquired more property, 1 block to 2 blocks, and never did any cleanup parcel lines, just built a casino and operated it. And now that we're moving forward with current modern code and laws, we need to clean this up so it meets not only state law, but city code. So what we're going from is the old Harrah's Casino property to downtown, vibrant, urban, mixed-use development. The project programming, of course, will include residential, And that will be not residential condos. So when I mention the word condominium tonight, it's not a residential condo. We're just doing commercial condo spaces. All the residential is proposed as apartments. There'll be some retail, entertainment space, office space, plaza activation, as I mentioned, hotel and garage. So we're going from 19 parcels to 33 new parcels for units, for common elements, and you'll see it on my next slide, which is, I think, a fantastic slide that really shows what we're doing, creating that commercial retail space, plaza space, hotel space, park garage space, all the spaces. So here is really what we're proposing tonight. Our map goes from 19 parcels to 33. For example, in the green there, the hospitality, that is a hotel, that's the current hotel site. That will be its own parcel, could be sold off to a hotel operator to develop it out and operate it. The two blue spaces for residential, as you can see, they do not extend all the way down to the dirt. So those two cubes in the air will now be their own parcels that could be sold off to residential builders who can come in and own and operate them. The remainder of the site, you can see in mustard yellow, the retail space, the parking spaces, the parking garage. Those are also being commercially condominiumized out into separate parcels. In red, the office space, interestingly enough, we're parceling out each floor. So for each floor, we could have a buyer come in and buy an entire floor. We've talked to some users who say, you know, we don't want to lease the space. We want some buy-in. We want some skin in the game. We actually want to own the floor. And you can't just sell a floor unless you create legally a parcel. So each of the floors will have their own parcels. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, the plaza activation, there'll be a separate plaza APN number, parcel number as well. So 19 flat parcels to 33 creative condominium parcels. And as was mentioned by staff, this is a commercial subdivision map, so state law allows us to even subdivide some of these spaces even further without coming back to you. So it's a great tool in state law that Vegas has used a bunch. We haven't used it too much up here, but we've already met with the Washoe County assessor, the Washoe County surveyor, and everyone's on board to move this from tentative map, which hopefully gets approved tonight, to final map and recordation later this year. So happy to answer any questions. I'll leave this up. Exciting new project for downtown Reno. I think we're all excited for this to get redeveloped. No pressure, Brianna, but we're all watching you and wanting this to move forward. And I'm happy to answer any questions. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Opening us up to public comment. Madam Clerk, we have any comment?
You received a request to speak form there. We stopped this timer, sorry.
Looks like the last name of Bolton.
Yes.
Yeah, sir.
I did not receive,
Oh, all right. Thank you, sir.
I did not receive any other public comment, and no one on Zoom is requesting to speak.
Okay. We will close public comment outside of the one, and we'll go right into questions of the commission. Who would like?
Disclosures first, or did we do that yet?
We did.
Oh,
I had to cross it off my list.
yeah, okay. Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Becerra, for the record, seems great. I'm with you. Revitalize downtown. Seems like a lot of promise there, a lot of potential. Kind of gives me Santana Row, San Jose vibes, you know, or at least the potential for it to be something like that, but Reno style. The one thing that kind of gave me pause for a moment was that the presentation showed that residents couldn't use the skywalk. Was there a reason for that, especially in the winter time when it gets a little icy and University Way gets a little dicey as well? All right.
Good evening. Just make sure to your name for the record. Thank you.
Brianna Bolantini for the record. Hi, everybody. I don't think tonight was really meant to be talking about circulation path, but we can touch upon it. This was prior a casino, so the circulation was meant to keep everybody inside. We are trying to activate the street. We're opening up now for storefronts to be along Second and University. So part of that is for circulation to come out onto the street, whether you're going, if you're parking in the parking garage, which is on the northeast corner, if you're going for dinner, if you're coming home every night, if you're going to the office, we want circulation to come down onto the street. It's also the closest and least path of resistance from the parking garage into the multifamily, which will be our highest volume of users. And so we know by default they're going to do it anyway, and so we want to make that as safe as possible onto University Way. So the Sky Bridge right now is actually not ADA approved from the second level where residents will be coming on. And then the escalator is going away up into that space. So really roundabout way of answering that it's just a long way of getting there. And so we're coming up with a new path of circulation with activating the street as our main goal. It's a whole separate topic that I think we're meeting with Public Works and everybody on. And so that's why it was exempt out of tonight, but I'm happy to debrief with you later.
No, that's perfect. Thank you. Just a quick follow-up. Is there a plan to make it ADA compatible or friendly?
The Sky Bridge?
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at all possible
Perfect.
solutions. Mhm.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, it's Commissioner Del Villar. I have a couple questions, and I think maybe Jeff, for you, I'm not sure yet. So it looks like we're going to add some residential. First off, this is great. I'm excited. I think that obviously this is part of what we've been trying to do, and I like the ingenuity of dividing this up into many different parcels. But one question I had was about the residential. Is that something that, or maybe that was part of the zoning, but do we have to talk to the school district or?
Yeah, so the proposed use
Not
is
that there's a bunch of
multifamily.
kids there, but yeah.
Yeah, the proposed use is multifamily, and I believe I included a reference in the staff report that I did speak with the school district, and they don't have any concerns about the project.
Perfect. I just wanted to make sure.
Sure.
And then also, I was just kind of a little bit confused between the condo versus housing versus, obviously I get the hotel. Yeah, maybe Garrett, sorry.
Yeah, Clerk Garrett Gordon, thanks for the question. So typically, the word condo has a residential meaning to it, right? A residential condominium, the Arlington Towers, for example, you'd buy a condominium here. Here, it's under state law referred to as a commercial condominium. So we're creating commercial airspace that could be purchased or leased by commercial businesses, tenants, buyers, to come in and fill the office space, the retail space, et cetera.
Got it. Excellent. I have another question, but I'll yield for a moment.
Anybody else? Commissioner Romeyer? I can't see or don't even know where to look if your hand's up, so.
Yes, maybe it's for Garrett. Garrett, is the applicant willing to remove, I'm thinking that mid-block crosswalk, that's a very unexpected feature for a car, for, people who are used to driving cars. Crosswalks are generally at signalized intersections or at the corners at least. That seems very unsafe. Our transportation engineer is unfortunately conflicted out and can't give us his opinion. What is the next steps on that, or have you already done the traffic study? I saw that condition 8 was striked. Does that mean that we won't be getting that information?
Commissioner, thank you for the question, and a good one as always. So it was, when that condition kind of popped up, it was a little bit of apples and oranges, right? So what we're talking about tonight is just creating parcels. We're not talking about circulation or access or really uses. We're just talking about what the new parcels will look like. The applicant has been very proactive in meeting with the city on what University Way would look like in regards to circulation, crosswalks, et cetera. And we have written confirmation with the city that as we move forward with our vision for University Way, a traffic study, as your colleague had to disclose tonight, he's currently working on it, of what University Way would look like. So everything's on the table, nothing is certain, it's being discussed. But again, staff agreed, and that's why we're moving condition number 8. Just not appropriate to add a condition on a map that would live past the recording of a final map, because typically tentative map conditions are only the conditions, as you know, that are required to get to a recorded final map. Everything afterward would be a different entitlement or building permit process.
And with that, and maybe this is a question for Jeff, are we getting a site plan review following this? Or what, because it's downtown, what would be required in terms of entitlement? It seems to me like it'd go straight to permit.
I think most everything would go straight to permit. Having said that, any proposal to do anything with University Way, e.g. a mid-block crosswalk, would necessitate a review by engineering and public works vis-a-vis a traffic study. I was actually in a meeting along with Mike Rayleigh, Khalil from Public Works, Doug, several folks who were in the meeting along with Brianna, discussing this issue, and it's very clear that there will be a future traffic study that analyzes the potential impacts of a mid-block crosswalk, as well as any other related infrastructure improvements that would be necessary for subsequent development of the site.
Okay, so we won't see it until maybe it's actually operational.
Right. Mike, you have a...
Commissioner Romar, the only thing that I could potentially think of that would come back before this board is potentially something related to live entertainment, but the uses themselves would all be permitted by right.
Okay, thank you.
Any follow-up questions?
I do have a question for the applicant. Actually, well, sure, you can try to answer as well. So, and this is obviously a little bit outside of the purview of our, of the Planning Commission, but whenever we see things like this, as a business strategist, I always want to understand like what's going to be done to help this be a successful project. That's both on the side of obviously the applicant themselves, and then what can the city of Reno, what can we do to make sure this is successful? Again, not in regards to how we're going to vote tonight, but I'm just curious, like, this is a big project, and I think there's going to be a lot of moving parts, and what's the plan to, again, maybe, make sure that there is occupancy, and again, how can the city kind of help make sure this is successful?
Yeah, no, for the record, Garrett Gordon, thanks for the question. I know it doesn't relate to any findings tonight, but I guess just generally speaking, one, the city's been great. I know Brianna and her team has been meeting with the city on a routine basis to work through all the different pieces of this puzzle to bring it to life. So the city's been fantastic, no asks on that end. I can say what gives, I guess, me confidence, personally. I've been working on a lot of downtown projects for the last 20 years and excited to have the opportunity to work on this one. There's a great developer, Allquest Development out of Boise, who's kind of taken over on the development side, and they've done complex mixed-use urban development projects up there, similar maps like this up there with different uses and concepts, combined with Brianna Bolantini's local experience. That team, I think, has gotten farther than really anyone else has, including, I would say for the record, making sure all the old subs and contractors were paid off. There were a lot of liens on this project by a lot of subs. So obviously you have to put, food on the table for families, and this team made sure they were all paid off on the most recent refinance to have a clean slate moving forward, which was a big deal and probably why you don't have 100 subcontractors in here opposing this application.
Fair enough, thank you. And again, I recognize it's outside the purview. I just wanted to, again, anything like this, like, it's so big, and I think there's so much potential, and we want it to be successful. And I just want to make sure that, again, as a community, we're rallying around it too.
And on behalf of the applicant, I know all of you are welcome to have a tour anytime, to come take a look at maybe what it looks like today and then the vision for going forward. So just let me know. I'll connect you and go have a walk through it at your convenience.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Commissioner Brickar.
Great, Commissioner Becerra. More of a clarifying question and maybe some levity to it, to the evening. What's the I saw, Jeff, there was an element to like a historic element tied to, I guess, this item before us. And I was just wondering what it relates to. And two, are you all going to keep any of the Planet Hollywood wall signatures? Because I'm old enough to have been here in the 90s when Stallone, Schwarzenegger, the whole crew were down here, and And I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool.
So the second question, I have no idea. I would defer that to
All right.
Brianna. The first question, the historic element, what are you referring to that I
I
talked?
don't- On your findings, like there was like a plethora of like
Oh,
things
the
that,
master plan?
yeah, there was like a historic element to it. And I was just wondering, like, what's the historical tie there? Oh, there you go. Historic character. Okay. Do you know what that ties to, or?
Let's take a look at this. I learned, and now I have all of the master plan policies here. Historic character, incorporate historic structures, signage, and other unique features as a part of a corridor. So I think, so and Garrett's going to address it too, but there is a historic, it's not officially designated historic, but a historic in nature, the historic bank building, so.
Oh, First National Bank or something like that.
For the record, Garrett Gordon, so the bank certainly has some historical significance that will be preserved, and Brianna and her team had this unbelievable deck, like 70 pages of the vision that bring in the past to the current, and from the Sammy Davis Jr. room to all the other elements. So again, maybe when we give you or any of your colleagues a tour, we can kind of share with you the historical components that will be preserved.
Fantastic. Thank you.
No problem.
Hey, anybody else? All right, move into discussion.
Happy to make a motion.
You can entertain one at any time.
Go for it, Velto. I'll back you.
In the matter of case number LDC 25-00060, based upon compliance with the applicable findings, I recommend that Planning Commission approve the tentative map subject to the conditions listed in the staff report, and I can make all the findings. The sole exception is the deletion of condition number 8.
Commissioner Becerra, second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And it looks like unanimous. Thank you for that one. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair, I'm going to go.
Wanna
let
take a
Commissioner
2-minute?
Jochman know
Okay.
that he can come back.
Oh, that would have been so fun, just
leave them back.
There was some traffic.
I know.
Moving on to item number 7, Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Liaison Report. I believe there's been no meeting since our last meeting, so there are no updates to give. Commissioner Rohrmeyer, do you have anything to add to that?
That's correct.
Very good. Moving on to item number 8, staff announcements, 8-1 through 8-4.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have very little tonight. As you know, the council has been on break, so there has not been a meeting since your last meeting for the council. They are meeting next week, the Milnes family zone change, which was this board approved in the general area, actually, of Moose Ridge, just the west of Moose Ridge. That will go before the council next week. I would like to welcome Commissioner Gonfantini. Am I getting that right? Okay. And we will be, I did meet with Commissioner Rohrmeyer and Commissioner Becerra on some of the training and kind of reports back to the planning commission they wanted, and I'm going to be we will work to prioritize those and move that forward now that we have a full board.
Very good. Number 9, Commissioner suggestions for future agenda items. Hearing none, we will move now to public comment. Item number 10, Madam Clerk, do we have any items under public comment at this time?
No, I did not receive any public comment forms, request to speak forms, or no one's on Zoom.
Commissioner Becerra, for the record. I've been liaising with City Manager Jackie Bryant, and just wanted to share with everyone here and the public that a joint meeting between City Council and Planning Commission for data centers has been confirmed for October 1st, and y'all should be getting an invite in the near future.
Looking forward to it. Item number 11, adjournment.
I would request that our newest commission to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.